Today, we're going to be taking a look at some of the most ridiculous FNAF fan games the community has ever created. From completely absurd concepts to characters and moments that feel like they came straight out of a fever dream, these games throw seriousness out of the window. Some of these had me questioning what I was even playing, so let's dive into them. Typically, when it comes to Five Nights at Freddy's and its fan games, people tend to make them as scary as possible, and usually that's awesome since I do like to be scared in my britches. However, there are a few times when games choose to make their games cute. Think Chica's Party World Rebaked, Girls Night, and of course FNAF World. Well, today I actually think I found the cutest FNAF fan game ever made. I've been asked to play this game quite a bit and for good reason. The game we'll be talking about today is Night at Nuggets, using characters from the Chicken Nuggets series, which has been around on YouTube and short form content for years. This game has a lot to cover and it's also one of the hardest games I've ever completed. So grab a snack and let's dive into it. Before we jump into night one, there's something we need to get out of the way. This game has difficulties, and since everybody knows I'm one of the worst Five Nights at Freddy's players on planet Earth, you already know I picked the most challenging difficulty in this game, Spicy. The difference between these difficulties is pretty small. The main difference is obviously the speed and difficulty of the characters. However, there is something else that the hardest difficulty brings, that being additional nuggets, which I'll talk about in a bit, and more difficult bezel events. Bezel events are another thing I'll talk about in just a second. Now, moving on to the actual night section. To start, we all know I'm gonna have to begin with the tools at our disposal. In this game, there are no calls. However, what we do have is a tutorial night, which is just boring, and then before each night, we get to have a little chat from Satan himself. Who the fuck is this? I'm very aware that all of these characters have been around for years as a part of a running web series, but I can't lie, I've never seen this character before, so if anybody knows what this character's name is, please let me know. I'll just be calling him Satan for now. He acts as this game's phone guy and just explains how all the characters work. And everyone in this game is voice acted too, so that's super cool, unlike some other games that I've hated that were super boring. Anyways, moving on to the tools at our disposal. Let's start by talking about our office's setup. There are two sections of the office that we can go to. Obviously, our main section where we can see our door and window, and then a subsection where we can see a furnace like we're all the way back in One Night at Flumpty's 3. Since we're here, let's talk about it. Throughout the night, this furnace will slowly run out of fuel. All we have to do is continue to shovel chicken nuggets into it to stop it from running out. It goes down a lot faster than you'd think it would, so make sure you're really keeping your eye on it. Now, moving to the main office, we of course have our door and window. We can close the door. However, the door can only be closed for so long. And by so long, I actually mean not long at all. We also get a scary mask, which is just a typical FNAF mask. Then, of course, we have our cameras, which are just fucking cameras, so there's not a whole lot to talk about there. Alright, now we can start talking about the main two threats this night introduces. So let's start with the main character, Chicken Nugget. He's pretty simple to understand. He will move around the cameras and eventually try and make his way to your door. You will never actually be able to see him from your office, so you need to make sure you're checking camera 5, since that's where you'll be able to see him looking like the devil, by the way. What the fuck is this thing? Once you close the door, he'll turn back into a normal puppy and just start barking at your shit, kind of like me when I see Toy Chica. The moment you hear him stop barking is when you know he's gone and you're free to open your door once again. Pretty simple character, but don't get fooled as this game gets incredibly challenging incredibly quickly. The next character to talk about is Cheeseburger. This little kitty. Much simpler than Nugget, which is surprising because Nugget isn't challenging at all. Cheese tries to attack via your window, but there's one downside, and that's that she's very scared of everything. If you put your mask on, she'll scream and leave, so dealing with her is pretty simple. There is an additional mechanic built into these two though. Every time you scare Cheese, an invisible counter goes up, and if this invisible counter goes up too high without Nugget attacking you, then Nugget will get pissed off and teleport directly to your door. Pretty interesting synergy. I actually really like it. The only other thing to talk about on this night is the Bezel event. Bezel is this clock time dude, and he puts a challenge on each night at a random time. The challenge for night 1 just makes your furnace decrease a lot faster, needing for you to make sure you're upkeeping it a lot more. This challenge stays the same regardless of your difficulty, but obviously the challenge is more aggressive the higher difficulty you're playing on. I really like the inclusion of these Bezel challenges as it adds something fun during each night. night. I sure hope these nights don't get batshit insane around night 4 or anything like that. That would suck, and I'm totally not foreshadowing at all. Anyways, let's move on to night 2. Actually, I lied. Before we move on to night 2, there's one more thing I want to talk about before we move on to night 2, and that's that this game has a currency in spicy nuggets and nuggets. In this game, you collect nuggets throughout the game, and if you play on the hardest difficulty, you get more of them. Using these nuggets, you can buy skins for the characters, which is some of the coolest fucking shit I've ever seen. I can't lie, it's badass. So bad, bro. Look at it. Tell me that thing's not badass. On top of that, you can also buy items to put in your office to decorate. This is such a fun little extra bit of stuff to do in this game, and I think it adds to the charm so much. I love it. It's fucking awesome. You better believe I'm getting this Freddy chicken nugget costume. It's fucking badass. Anyways, now on to night 2. This night only introduces one new threat, but the threat is a pretty interesting one to say the least. This night introduces Ice Cream. Ice Cream? I don't really know which pronunciation it is, I can't lie. Anyways, Ice Cream's goal is to summon Satan to wreak havoc on your butt cheeks. They will do fucking retarded. They will do this in camera 7. Throughout the night you fucking Christ. Throughout the night, you need to make sure you're keeping your eye on them as they will move through several phases before the pentagram is finished. After it's finished, you don't have a long time before Satan is summoned and you fucking die. The process for stopping this from happening is pretty cool, I can't even lie. To start, before the attack process can begin, you actually have to see the pentagram is finished on camera 7. So unfortunately, you can't just completely ignore the camera. Once you see the pentagram, a scroll will appear in your furnace room. You will need to decipher this scroll and then use it on camera 7 to prevent the ritual. To decipher the scroll, you will just need to hold your mouse over it until this little meter fills up. However, as I'm sure you can tell because you have eyes, unless you have this on in the background, in which case I'll wait for you to fucking tab back into the video to look, dickhead. Okay, cool. You're looking now? Great. As I'm sure you can tell, the scroll is circling the room, so you better have some good aim trainer, bro. After you finish deciphering the scroll, go back to camera 7 and click the scroll in the bottom corner, and the ritual will stop. Congrats! You've now dealt with Ice Cream once. Have fun doing it again. All right, time to start talking about the bezel event on this night, which is much more complicated than the previous night. This time, we'll have Ice Cream appear right in our shit in the main office section. Ice Cream, on top of what bullshit they already do, puts us in a trap, like some Ballora type shit from Sister Location. This will take place for the rest of the night. It's fucking annoying as shit. You will see 4 red circles on your screen. On top of this, there are 2 bars that will quickly decrease. If they fully decrease, you fucking die. In order to keep these bars up, you will need to flick your mouse between these buttons to slowly fill it up. And you'll need to do this on each side for a long fucking time because they're basically here the whole damn night. And you need to be keeping track of everything else at the same time. If it's only night 2, and this is how difficult these events are, I'm scared for what's coming. I'm just really hoping night 4 isn't going to be too hard or anything like that. All right, time to talk about night 3, which introduces literally the most confusing character I've ever seen. I can't lie. It took me way too long to understand what the fuck this character does. It's a little embarrassing. This night introduces French Fry, this little dragon lady. Her main goal is to attack you through your vent, except she has way fucking more to her than that. Let me just say that much. She has several different ways to attack you. Let's start with her main attack first, which is her vent attack. Camera 9 is your vent camera, and this is where you'll have the chance to see her. If you at any point see French Fry in this fucking camera, you need to drop whatever it is you're doing and put your mask on, because when she's in your vents, that means she will very quickly fly into your office. If your mask isn't on, yeah, you're cooked, buddy, so just put it on. She will fly past your face twice before granting you a wish. Once the wish is granted, you can take the mask back off, and the second part of her attack begins. The second half of this attack has jelly beans start falling from the ceiling. You cannot let your mouse touch any of these jelly beans or your ass gets fucked. This attack doesn't last for a super long time, so it really shouldn't be that big of an issue. And that's all French Fry would normally do. However, because of the bezel event on this night, she has even more bullshit to worry about. The bezel event on this night forces Ice Cream to summon evil French Fry. And when evil French Fry is active, she gets a whole different set of attacks. So let's go over those. Also, I should mention that Ice Cream can summon shit on like any night, including evil French Fry. So, Evil French Fry is summoned. There are 3 attacks that will happen in very quick succession. The first will be Evil French Fry appearing in your doorway. Obviously, just close the door and eventually she'll pound on it. Once she's done pounding on it, you can open it again. Then shortly after, she will move to your vent, where you'll have to see her and then obviously put your mask on again. Instead of flying through your office, she'll just seduce you, I think, and then she'll grant another wish. But instead of it being jelly beans this time, it's fucking bees. So that's really cool. What a stark contrast. The bees work in the exact same way as the jelly beans, except instead of falling from the top of the screen, they go from left to right. Same process here, just don't let your mouse cursor touch them and you'll be all good. Once the bees stop, you've successfully defended yourself from Evil French Fry. Do you got all that? Yeah, in case you haven't been able to tell yet, this game is incredibly overstimulating, and if you're not good at multitasking, chances are you're not going to be able to beat this shit because it's hard as fuck, I can't lie to you. Now, there's actually some other stuff I want to talk about before we move on, and that's the counter events that you can buy in the shop. These are extra upgrades that will help you throughout the game and can be incredibly helpful with how insane the later nights of this game get. I'll start by talking about the counter event the game forces you to buy, the auto feeder. The auto feeder adds a little frog in your furnace room that will slowly over time feed nuggets into the furnace. Now, you still have to shovel them in yourself. It doesn't completely nullify this task, but it will allow you to spend less time on it, which is very important because some of the characters get absolutely fucking crazy. I'll talk more about what the other counter events do a bit later because we really need to talk about Night 4, which totally isn't about to get fucking insane. Guys, it may have been subtle foreshadowing this whole time because holy fucking shit! This night is where this game starts to get really hard. This night introduces 2 new threats, and one of them is literally the most annoying fucking character of all time, so we'll talk about him first. But before we do, I want to talk about the next counter event I used to help me complete this night. Since at the beginning of the night you choose 1 counter event, since you can't have multiple active at the same time. For this night I chose alarm system. So, to make myself clear, the counter events only appear once the bezel event starts to, obviously, counter the event. This doesn't prevent the event from happening, it just adds your counter event as well. Alarm system is probably one of the most helpful counter events in the entire game. Once it activates, whenever somebody attacks you, you'll get a notification at the top corner of the screen. Ignore the fact that the event symbol is Nugget. This does not mean that Nugget himself is attacking, it just tells you that anybody is, which is very nice since most of the characters in this game don't have a sound cue when they attack. After the alarm goes off, it does have a cooldown so you won't get notified for every attack. This helps so much, mainly for characters like Nugget and French Fry, since as we get into the threats this night introduces, it'll become very easy to forget to check on them. Alright, on to that really fucking annoying threat I talked about earlier. That character is Hot Sauce. Literally, the nuisance character to end all nuisance characters. His only goal is to annoy the shit out of you, as Hot Sauce himself cannot kill you. He's always in your office hiding, so you can't see him. Throughout the night, he will just be annoying as dick. For example, sometimes when you want to close the door, he'll just immediately open it. Bro, fucking annoying. Sometimes when you pull your mask down, he'll just immediately pull it back up. Fucking annoying. And then, one of my favorites, he can just steal your fucking shovel that you use to shovel nuggets into the furnace. When he does, all you have to do is click on him, but holy fucking shit, it's fucking annoying. This will easily become your least favorite character when he gets introduced. I cannot stand this guy. Yeah, when Spicy Nugget attacks, dude, this fucking bitch ass squirrel. Oh, bitch ass fucking Hot Sauce, bro. Fuck off.
I'm already so tired of this squirrel, bro. Hot Sauce,
I know,
was
yeah, Hot Sauce. This squirrel fucking sucks dick, bro. Stop closing my fucking door! Dude, get the fuck out! Dude, fucking touching my goddamn shovel, bro. I can't handle it. Now, on to the actual threat this night introduces, Slushy. She's actually a threat with a mechanic that is incredibly stressful. Her goal is to attack your window. When you see her in your window, you'll have to go to camera 3, which is her room. Once you're in her room, you'll have to wind up her music box to make her think that anime is playing inside of her room to make her go back because she's a weeb. However, That's too easy. Several characters can move throughout her room, and occasionally this music box will malfunction and you'll have to fix it. In order to fix it, you have to enter a short minigame. This minigame will change depending on the character that was previously in her room. The most common minigame I saw was one where you just have to spam space really fast. However, there are several other mini games you can get as well. The other one we got on this night was one where you had to click 6 hats and put them on 6 frogs. Really random, and I'll talk about the other mini games that these can be as we unlock them, as I'm writing about each night after I play them, so I haven't gotten any other mini games yet. Now that we've talked about the new threats, it's time to talk about the bezel event of this night, which is really fucking brutal. Bezel will turn Chicken Nugget into Spicy Nugget, which makes Nugget's attack a whole lot more annoying. When Nugget turns into Spicy Nugget, once he appears at your door and you close it, he will move to your window and start banging on it. When he does, a random key will appear next to him and you'll have to spam that key on your keyboard in order to make him stop. Once he leaves from the window, you're free to open your door again. This night is obviously incredibly stressful. Nugget got fucking in, dude. Holy dick. Fuck. I don't have time to check all this shit, bro. This is fucking impossible. Holy shit. Fuck, holy fucking shit. God. Bro, there's so much shit. Does it help that I'm playing on the hardest difficulty? No, not at all. That actually makes it a whole lot worse. But me suffering is what you guys want. And if you really want to see me suffer through this game, you can see my full playthrough of it over on my second channel, Dexter Black. All right, let's move on to night 5. Night 5 is fucking bullshit. Oh. What the fuck was the screen thing? Fuck, Nugget got it. God damn it. Fuck, the audio is almost done playing, you cunt. Can I just fucking end the night immediately? Oh my God, this night is where this game starts to get really, really fucking hard. So let's just get into it. Let's start with the main threat this night introduces. That threat being Coffee. Coffee is such a pain in the ass for no reason whatsoever. She's a find them on the camera character. When she attacks, she will appear in one of 4 cameras. Thankfully, the possible cameras she can appear in are marked by her head. However, when she attacks, she creates 3 clones of herself. These clones will be placed on the 3 cameras that she isn't hiding on. You'll be able to tell if they're a clone because they look all pixelated like this. If she looks normal, then you just need to select the It's You button on the cameras and you'll finish her attack. The other threats introduced on this night are Catsup and Meowster. They're basically 2 characters, but they do the same thing. Occasionally, when you pull your camera down, one of them will appear somewhere in your office. When they do, you need to press shift to pull out your cat toy and dangle it above their head to make them leave. This isn't challenging whatsoever. However, just like Chicken Nugget, they have a synergy with Cheeseburger. If you scare Cheeseburger too much with your mask, both of them will enter your office at the same time, meaning you'll have to waste double the amount of time to deal with them by dangling the cat toy above their stupid fucking faces. God damn it! I hate hot sauce so much, for fuck's sake! Stop stealing my fucking shovel! But here we go. Let's jump into the bezel event of this night, which is just complete fucking bullshit. When it activates, the monitor in your office will turn on. The more you flip up and down your monitor, a ring version of Coffee will appear. When she enters your office, you will need to quickly flip up the camera. If you press any other button, she instantly kills you, which fucking sucks. I don't know what that means. What the fuck was that?
Do you have a spreadsheet I can borrow?
What the fuck was the screen thing?
Oh, that? Oh, yeah, you're supposed to pull up your monitor.
Oh, okay, yeah. I turned to the furnace. That's which one I did. I just picked the wrong fucking thing to click. I love that. Instead of just making a mechanic, you just say, yeah, we're gonna do something, and then you're just gonna have to click one of the many things you can click and just hope you click the right one. What a great mechanic. Completely unnecessary addition to this night, which is already incredibly stressful. I fucking hate it. God damn it, fucking hot sauce! The counter event I chose for this night was closing time. Once the bezel event happens, you get the ability to use closing time. While it's active, the door gets closed and doesn't waste any power, and nobody can come through your vent. It can be toggled off and on at any time, however, it only has a very short limited use time. It's incredibly helpful in stressful situations, but I personally still think using alarm system would be a better idea. Even auto feeder would probably be a better choice, since the amount of time you get to use closing time is not very long at all. This game has a night 6, and spoiler alert, it's got a hell of a lot more nights than just that. So stay tuned because this game just continues to get harder. This night introduces one new threat and another threat that technically isn't a threat. Let's start by talking about the actual threat, Sody Pop and Sarsaparilla. It's technically two characters, but you can literally eliminate half of the attack by not letting yourself get attacked in the first place. Throughout the night, candy will spawn across cameras 1, 2, 3, and 7. If you ever see candy on these cameras, you'll need to collect them before Sody Pop can. If Sody Pop ever collects one of these candies, he will sprint full speed at your office and literally fucking kamikaze explode and then steal your credit card. Not even playing with you. Top square, yeah. Holy fuck, this is impossible, bro. Holy shit. Once Sody Pop starts running at your door, you can prevent a loss by finding Sarsaparilla on a random camera and having her collect her fucking child like a good mother. However, you only have like 3 seconds to do this, so you might as well just kill yourself. The best way to deal with this threat is to not have to deal with it at all. So just make sure you're collecting all the candy and it really shouldn't be that big of a problem at all. The other character introduced on this night isn't even a threat and can actually be a positive during the night. This character is Onion Ring. He will randomly throughout the night run past your office door and drop one of his books. If you pick this book up, you will either get a buff or a debuff, so it's just gambling. You can also choose to completely ignore the book and have Onion Ring play no role throughout the night at all. There are several different buffs and debuffs he can give you, and I literally have no way of knowing what all of them are, so I'll just talk about the few that I got. Since when you pick one up, a fucking paragraph appears on your screen for a few seconds explaining the ability. However, the game doesn't pause, so I rarely had time to actually read what it was. One of the buffs I got was a timer that showed when coffee was going to attack next, so that was pretty nice. Another buff I got was making the power of the door increase 20% slower for a short period of time. Also nice, but I also didn't even close the door during that time, so it wasn't really useful at all. And I got a debuff like twice, but again, I have no idea what they were since I didn't have time to fucking read them. So here are the debuffs I got if you want to read them. I used alarm system on this night because this night is really fucking hard, and I honestly think it's the best counter you can get at this point in the game. And I say at this point in the game because after this night, you get the ability to buy hands down the best counter in the entire game. That counter being Guardian Angel. Guardian Angel gives you the ability to cancel one impossible to avoid event each night. For example, let's say Nugget gets into your office. Usually when this happens, he removes the ability for you to shovel nuggets into the furnace, which of course leads to you losing. Well, if you have Guardian Angel, you get to kick him out of your fucking office. You can only stop one impossible event a night, but I think this is fucking huge. Oh yeah, also on this night, we get another possible minigame to fix Slushy's music box. This one is pretty simple. Space, Q, or enter will randomly appear and you just have to quickly press that button. Not very hard, but you do have to be pretty fast. All right, guys, night 7 time. Here we go. Now, hear this. I actually managed to beat this night on my first attempt. Unlike Triz, who was getting fucked up by hot sauce the whole time.
I expect to beat this first try, and if I don't, see, there's gonna be a rope in the corner of my room waiting for me. I'm gonna say Yori this shit. No! I was so close! I literally clicked on the mask as she showed up. Oh my god. Alright, this is easy. I don't know. That Guardian Angel shit don't work. Alright, who wants to see Dexter in a maid outfit? I know I do. Hot sauce flicked my mask up. As I was dealing. There's nothing I could have done about that, actually. Hot sauce, I wish nothing but the worst for you. I'm actually losing my mind. Chicken got out of my office, didn't he? Fucking hot sauce!
I fucking love him, dude.
I hate him! Oh my god! The things I would do to that little squirrel! Oh my god, you look at I love Alvin the Chipmunks, or I swear to god I would have done some nasty shit to him, bro.
You can take to the comment section to talk with Triz about hot sauce. I'm sure he'll respond to you. Night 7 only introduces one new threat, who just serves to be another nuisance character, but he's nowhere near as annoying as hot sauce is. This guy is Old P. Don't question the way he looks. He's just really ugly. What the fuck is that? Bro, it looks like you. I know, it's like looking in a mirror for you, isn't it? Old P is a streamer. He's also a mukbanger, so he will use your cameras to stream because he's too fucking lazy to get a job and buy his own setup, so he needs to use yours. When he does this, all you need to do is click the little record button at the top corner of the cameras to cut the stream. As I'm sure you can imagine, while he's streaming, you won't be able to do anything on your cameras, so just click that shit as fast as you possibly can, and this will be no problem. The bezel challenge on this night is fucking AIDS. Once it hits, every single character in the game will start moving even faster, which is actually just one of the worst possible things that could ever happen. However, I actually feel like this night is easier than night 6, because for some reason, this night goes back to quick speed. I know I haven't mentioned it yet, and that's because I'm a bad YouTuber, but each night has a speed, or just how long it lasts. The first few nights were all quick speed, but night 6 and a few others were normal speed, meaning they were a bit longer. However, with night 7 being a quick night, it ends much faster. Now, if this night was a normal speed night, then I think that the bezel event would have been truly awful. Obviously, I used Guardian Angel counter on this night because it's just the best, and it actually saved me from a nugget attack, which is literally the only reason why I completed this night on my first attempt. The next night is called Clocks Ticking, and the time speed is normal. So I'm very scared about what that even means. So let's get right into it. Holy fucking shit. I just completed night 8, and it took me an entire hour. This has been by far one of the most soul-sucking nights I've ever played from any FNAF game ever. This night shows off RNG I never even noticed this game has. It is fucking brutal. To start, let's talk about the brand new threat this night introduces, because yes, it introduces yet another threat for no reason other than to piss me off. The threat on this night is Milkshake. Pretty much a nothing character, as you don't need to actively think about her very hard like you need to do with other characters. Milkshake wants to text her waifu, which is the fucking P-boy or whatever his name is. To get a better signal on her phone, she'll walk to your office. On cameras 3 and 1, you will see a text message button. Press these buttons to lure her away from your office. I got into a certain cycle that had me always checking camera 1, so whenever I noticed she wasn't there, I just press the message button, and it's not a huge deal. Now, what is a huge deal is the bezel challenge. That being Bezel himself. A clock will appear in your office, and then throughout the remainder of the night, Bezel has a chance to start appearing in your face no matter where you're looking. You will have to click and hold the clock in your office to make him go away. The main problem here is that it's completely random when he'll appear, and he's by far the highest priority character in the game. So when you see him, you will need to drop everything you're doing to deal with him right away. So that means there's a chance that while you're deciphering the scroll, that Bezel can start attacking. And if that happens, chances are you just fucking lose. There is so much RNG in this night. Really, it's not even hard, as keeping track of every character isn't too bad. You just follow the pattern that I followed, which goes like this. Open cam, check 1, 3, 2, then 7. If there's ever candy, click it. And if Milkshake isn't on camera 1, click the text message button. Then after checking camera 7, check camera 9 for French fry, and finally hit cam 5 for nugget. Drop the camera, deal with the cat if you have to, and then hit the furnace and pump twice. For the first 2 hours of this night, this cycle should be good. Usually around 2 a.m. is when you have to deal with both French fry and ice cream. So this is a big choke point, mainly because of fucking hot sauce, since it's completely RNG if he shows up. And if he does, chances are you'll just lose to French fry because he'll pull your fucking mask back up as she flies in. At 3 a.m. is when Bezel appears. And from that point forward, it's just a complete RNG fuck fest, where you get fucked in the face and used like a cum rag. Oh yeah, there's also still something else that can happen once the Bezel challenge hits, that being a P-boy change. He has the chance to become this demon monstrosity, where in the record button you have to click moves around the screen because fuck it, let's just make things even worse. Let's just fuck the viewer in the ass. Really, the biggest issue in this night is Bezel and fucking hot sauce. The amount of losses I had to hot sauce RNG is complete bullshit. It's not a fun mechanic at all. It's completely retarded. No game is fun because of RNG. It quite literally doesn't matter how much skill you have in this game. Your chances of winning are completely determined by RNG with Bezel and fucking hot sauce. It's not fun. Fuck hot sauce! This game was super interesting and enjoyable up until this point, but this actually, unironically, completely ruined the game for me. I do not like this game anymore, and I still have night 9 to talk about. So just fucking get that over with before I lose my fucking mind. God damn it, hot sauce! Night 9 is something else, but thankfully it is nowhere near as hard as night 8. And as I'm sure you could have guessed, that's because this night is not normal at all. At least, kind of, not really. This night begins as normal, except you'll notice that there's no ambience at all, and for some reason Milkshake isn't present. You'll also notice during this time that Nugget isn't moving for some reason and just stays in camera 1. Keep playing out this night as normal until around midway through 2 a.m. Then we get a weird little cutscene. In it, Nugget is very sad. I should mention that there's been a story going on throughout this game. It's just been told very slowly. Basically, through short cutscenes we've seen, Nugget's friends kept disappearing, and eventually Nugget saw a fracture in space and time that showed something was trying to reset him. Well, turns out he lost his fucking mind. For those of you who don't know anything about the established lore these characters already have, because if you didn't know, these characters have a lot of lore and have been around for much longer than this game. Nugget is the demigod of chaos, and he's about to show us exactly what he can do. Bezel gets turned into a fucking teddy bear and takes Nugget's place at this point of the night. The rest of the night is now exactly the same as normal, except Nugget is replaced by Bezel. There's one other thing to note, and that's that Nugget adds one more threat to this night. That being the ability for him to spawn a bunch of frogs in your office. When they appear, all you have to do is click on them. If you don't do it fast enough, then a giant frog will appear in your camera and block absolutely everything, pretty much guaranteeing you lose. Once you complete the night, which honestly isn't too hard, you just need a little bit of luck, we get another cutscene. In it, we learned what's happened. Bezel tried to create a way for the player to meet all of the characters through the game we've been playing through a pocket universe. This is what Nugget saw, and he got confused and didn't know what it was, so he lost his mind. Something like that. I'm gonna be so real, I don't know. It was confusing as fuck. Now, French Fry has to do something? I don't really know. The game doesn't really explain it. After this, we get pumped into one final fight. Except it's not a normal FNAF night, because it's not FNAF at all, as this game turns into a fucking bullet hell for no reason. What the hell is going on, bro? We get told about 3 mechanics. The entire game literally gets turned into a YouTube short for some reason. Throughout this boss fight, Nugget's impatience will increase. Occasionally, a like button will appear. Clicking it will empty his impatience. Occasionally, a comment button will appear and we'll have to open the comments and delete the mean comment. And finally, one time, a share button will appear. Clicking on it will make Ice Cream heal a bit of French Fry's health. The final boss fight is really fucking hard. Not even because it's hard to dodge things, but just because of how fucking long this boss fight is. Nugget looks fucking awesome, but holy shit, this fight is way too long for no reason at all. If there's one thing to criticize about this game, it's that the balancing is completely dog shit. I'm not gonna talk about all of Nugget's attacks in this boss fight. It's been playing in the background while I've been talking about it. You can see it. Just open your eyes, move your mouse, don't get touched by stuff. After we complete it, we have to spam click and then boom, we're done. One final cutscene where our player meets all of the other characters outside of the pocket dimension where the characters aren't mean, and there we go. The story mode has been completed. This game has been incredibly fucking hard, but guess what? We still have a fuck of a lot more to talk about, as this game has a shit ton of post game, which usually I would love, but after the hell I just went through, I'd really prefer to just be done with all of this. To start, we unlock the custom night and an endless mode that we can use to grind nuggets for the shop. Inside of the shop, we get the ability to buy 3 new characters that we can add to the custom night. So let's go over each of the 3 extra characters that you can buy. Let's start by talking about animatronic chicken nugget, because yes, the original one isn't a robot. Throughout the night, you'll have to cook a burger with your furnace and make sure it doesn't overcook. Then you need to prepare for Nugget to appear in your office, and then you'll give him the burger, then he'll reset, and you do it again. Pretty cool mechanic. I actually like this one. The next character you can buy is Parody Ice Cream. Parody Ice Cream will create duplicates of himself on every single camera except for camera 9. If you ever spot one of his clones, you need to go to the furnace and take some pills that you see sitting there. Each pill you take will remove 1 clone. However, if you take too many pills too quickly, your vision will get all fucked, which will make it a hell of a lot harder to click the buttons you need to click. And finally, the last character to talk about is Bootleggit. He'll pick different cameras to infect throughout the night and start slowly infecting them. On those cameras, ads will start to rapidly appear. You will have to switch which camera you're looking at when you see this camera to get rid of him before he fucks you. If you pull the cameras down, it'll only stall his progress, so just make sure you switch cameras. And there we go. That's every new character you can unlock. But that doesn't include all of the custom night challenges, endless mode bullshit, and some other fun stuff that this post game has. I love post games, so I think shit like this is awesome. And when I'm in a bit of a better mood, I'll probably spend some time on this. But other than that, as far as I'm aware, that's all Night at Nuggets has to offer. This game, generally speaking, everything was fucking amazing. Fantastic art, amazing post-game, fun characters, and the skins idea was incredible, and I loved it. Hot Sauce can kill himself! Holy fucking shit! Oh yeah, and for anybody that's curious, a second game has already been announced and is in production, and you'd better believe I'll be covering that once it comes out. The OG Five Nights at Freddy's fan game trilogies. There are plenty to talk about. One Night at Flumpty's, Five Nights at Candy's, Project Readjusted, among many more that I and many others have covered in the past and will continue to cover in the future. Of course, with all of these different trilogies, we have some masterpieces. And of course, with those masterpieces come the stinkers. Today, I'm going to be talking about the Five Nights at the Krusty Krab trilogy, which in my opinion is probably the most polarizing trilogy ever made, with a lot of good and a lot of bad. Join me today as we talk about it all and dive right into the Bikini Bottom's very own FNAF fan game. Before we dive into the first night, let's talk about the rundown of this game's plot. Basically, Mr. Krabs has decided to open up a brand new Krusty Krab location in the city. Instead of hiring more employees, he just gets robots of his existing employees made to run the restaurant. Don't question why Sandy and Patrick are in this game, even though they're not employees. We're just gonna gloss past that part. He then hires 2 humans to keep charge of the restaurant. Those people being the player who we play as and the phone guy. We also learn that our player's name is Eli Floyd. Cool. With that out of the way, we start our first night in the new establishment, which means it's time for us to start talking about the tools at our disposal, since listening to the phone guy talk is the most mind-numbing thing in the world. To start, we have a power system, which I know is pretty standard for these older fan games, but it's just been so long since I've actually had to deal with a normal power system in one of these games. I think I just became a little spoiled with how most of the newer games don't really have a power system. Of course, this is literally just the classic power system from FNAF 1, nothing new here. We have our doors in our office, which are standard, and our camera system, which is also basic and standard as we've come to expect. However, there is one thing that is a bit different in this game, and that's that we actually have a third door. That door actually being in your cameras connecting to a room called the fuse room. The light button to this door is completely useless as well, but I'll talk more about that in just a second. Something about the cameras is that there's no visual indicator on screen that you even have cameras. That's really just a nitpick though, and it doesn't really matter. Just flick your mouse to the bottom of the screen and you'll open them. Except they also have this really weird bug where sometimes they won't open unless you flick your mouse down twice. It's a little weird, but in all honesty, the cameras in this game are completely useless, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. The last mechanic to talk about is the flashlight. You can flash the window in front of you with it, and it's only used to deal with one threat. However, we'll also talk about that a bit later, since this specific threat hardly shows up, so there's borderline no reason to ever use the flashlight anyways. Alright, time to start talking about the threats this night introduces, and what better place to start than with SpongeBob himself. He is as simple can get. He's just this game's Bonnie. He'll make his way to your left door through the cameras, and all you have to do is close the door. This is a very old fan game, as I'm sure you're already aware, and I'm really here to talk about the second 2 games since they're far more interesting. But we have to get through this snooze fest of a game first. Fun fact, during my playthrough, which you can see over on my second channel, Dexter Black, I usually had Subway Surfers or something random playing on the side of the screen since this game is so boring. Patrick is the next threat this night introduces, and he's literally just SpongeBob, except the key difference here is that he attacks your right door instead of your left. The same rules apply here, just close the door and eventually he'll leave. Let me quickly give you the strategy for this entire game. Close both of your doors and just spam the flashlight. You're not gonna run out of power since most of the time this game bugs and just doesn't use any of it in the first place, so hooray! Moving on to night 2, 2 new threats are introduced. So let's start by talking about Sandy, who has never worked at the Krusty Krab, so I'm not really sure why she's even made to be a robot here, but whatever. Sandy starts in the supply cabinet. Her goal will be to try to get into your fuse room on camera 7. What you're supposed to do is close the door to the fuse room. However, Sandy has this super awesome glitch where she will just go through the closed door and body your fuses anyways. So it literally doesn't matter. After bodying your fuses, she will move to your right door and quite literally never move for the rest of the night. However, this sounds like it's a much bigger problem than it actually is. Let me explain why. Just like FNAF 1, the characters cannot enter your office and kill you unless you pull your cameras up. However, Five Nights at Freddy's 1 also had a Foxy character that forced you to open the cameras. This game does not have a Foxy character, and opening your cameras serves no purpose. Maybe if the door in camera 7 worked, then maybe it'd be a little bit better. But since Sandy ignores the door, you never need to open your cameras throughout the entire game, which of course means that no character will ever be able to enter your office in the first place, so you'll never lose. The other threat introduced on this night is Squiddy. He is the most interesting character we've seen so far, but that doesn't mean he's interesting at all. He's just not a boring door character. His goal is to attack the window in front of you, and he is the only character that can actually kill you even if your cameras aren't up. All you have to do is flash the window whenever he's there. A lot. Like, sometimes for 20+ seconds, and he'll go away. However, he's also known to just reappear immediately after you get rid of him, so that's just super annoying. But he is super easy to deal with, and again, since you have no reason to open your cameras or close the doors, you're going to have plenty of power to deal with Squiddy, so you shouldn't even worry. Moving on to night 3, we only have one new threat to talk about, and on top of that, this threat is also the final threat in this game, so we're about to have 3 nights of boredom after this. The final threat is Mr. Krabs, or as my researcher wrote, and I quote, fucking Krigger. So thanks for that, Triz. Love you. Now, Mr. Krabs also does something a little different from the rest of the characters. Like all of them, he'll randomly wander around the cameras. However, he can attack you without appearing in the office doors or the window, which sounds a lot scarier than it actually is. When he reaches the stairs where Sandy is, he will stay there for the rest of the night. Now, you may be wondering to yourself, wait, wouldn't that mean I have to look at the cameras? Normally, that would be a fair assumption, but this game is actually broken beyond belief. No, you do not have to look at the cameras. All you have to do for this night is close both doors to your office and spam your flashlight. Congratulations! None of the characters will be able to kill you now. Isn't this so fun? I'm just going to cover the rest of the nights of the first game right now, all at the same time, since nights 4, 5, and 6 are just progressively harder versions of night 3. Same strategy. Close all the doors and spam the flashlight. The only characters that can kill you while the cameras are down are Squiddy and Krabs, but Krabs won't be able to get in since your door is closed, and Squiddy won't be able to kill you since you'll be spamming your flashlight. The phone call for these nights, and all previous nights, are pretty boring. The only semi-interesting call comes from night 6, which actually isn't a phone call and is instead a pre-recorded safety message, saying that the place is abandoned and that we need to get out as soon as possible. Apparently, there's some threat in the building trying to steal the formula, probably connected to Plankton in some way. That's really about it. Surprise, surprise, the first game is really boring and terrible. The game ends with a cutscene of the building burning down. We get some final text that reads, "And with that, the restaurant was closed forevermore." The building simply stood there, silent and empty. In time, folks forgot of the restaurant's existence, despite the success of the first few weeks. The disaster that occurred there was swept under the rug, unnoticed for the rest of time. Well, almost. This is clearly pointing at there being a sequel to these games, and of course, look at the length of the video. There are still 2 more games for us to talk about that will hopefully be more interesting than this one. Alright, moving on to the second game, we see Five Nights at the Chum Buckets. The plot of this game picks up after the first, where the sole survivor of the building fire was taken captive by the creator of the robots, presumably Plankton, I would imagine. We wake up trapped inside of a building and have to defend ourselves for 5 nights. The mechanics and tools at our disposal in this game are actually a lot more interesting than the previous game. And if any of you have seen anything from this series of games, I'm willing to bet this is probably the game you've seen, as it's arguably the best in the entire series. To start, we have our doors in our office and the flashlight in front of us like the last game. We'll get into them a bit more in just a second. The first new mechanic I want to talk about is the vents. In the cameras, you can access them, except a problem that I had was figuring out where the hell they were. And why was that so hard for me? Well, the game doesn't actually have a proper button for them. Clicking the box that has "you" labeled on it will open up the vent cameras, which I was never expecting at all because never in a million years has a fan game had the "you" section a clickable camera, so that took me a very long time to figure out. Only one of these vents can be closed at a time, but we'll talk a little bit more about them later. This time around, we have unlimited power. However, we can only use 2 things at a time. This includes your lights, your doors, and your cameras. This is actually pretty cool, I can't lie, and it provides a very good balancing strategy for you to figure out, except, oops, I was also able to bug this game really badly and found a way to use 3 things at a time, at all times, making this game significantly easier than it was supposed to be. This glitch has something to do with your flashlight and how and when you turn it on, but you can force it to stay on the whole night without the game counting it as being used, so you have a perfect counter to one of the other threats we'll talk about later. Now, there is a way for you to use even more things at once, and this is by using a system called overdrive. It's a big red button in front of your cameras. When you press it, you'll get 10 seconds where you'll be able to use an additional power using item. After the 10 seconds, you have to wait 15 seconds before you can use the overdrive again. If you're using 3 power using items when the overdrive runs out, it will randomly choose a tool you are using to disconnect, which unfortunately for me was always my busted up JBL speaker that constantly sounds like it's underwater. Your flashlight is what you use to check the hallway in front of you for any unwanted visitors. Of course, like I said before, this flashlight can be glitched. The exact way you do it is by turning on the flashlight and then skipping the phone call. It seems like skipping the phone call runs a line of code to reset all power usage to 0, except it seems to not run the line that shuts your light off. So by doing this, you can use it the whole night without thinking. If you ever turned off and then back on throughout the night, it will go back to working like normal. So just don't turn it off and we're chilling. Moving on to the doors. They can obviously be closed, but if they're closed for too long, they'll overheat. However, something you'll notice about the overheating is that it literally takes so fucking long for this to ever happen, so you really won't have to worry about it that much. Even when they do overheat, it just takes 15 seconds before you're able to close them again, so it's not a super big deal. Something we should mention about the doors before we move on is that if there is someone in the doorway, you won't be able to see them unless your flashlight is on. Having your flashlight on will also make the light in the doorways flicker for some reason, which makes no sense at all since your hallway light doesn't flicker and the light in your doorways is quite literally just your hallway light. So not sure what that's about, but we can move past that. Moving on to the cameras, and oh my god, this place has a lot of fucking cameras. It's insane. There are 4 floors to this building, all with their own set of cameras. Basically, all you need to know is every time you open your cameras, they default to the ground floor, and the only cameras you really need to worry about is the camera you default to and your right hallway, but I'll get into that a bit more later. We could talk about all of the cameras in this game, but there are so many and 98% of them are completely useless. Hooray! Something I should mention is that this game has 2 phone guys. The first is the guy from the first game again, and the second is a super evil man that makes me wet my britches whenever he speaks. Good phone guy is freaking out when he gets a hold of us, saying he saw the flames from the old building and had no idea where we were. Before he can say any more, the line is cut and we get to hear from bad phone guy. So of course, I do the only logical thing I can think of and immediately defecate my pants. He has a big villain monologue. I don't really care. He just says we have to survive 5 days and he'll let us go for some reason. Whatever. Let's move on to talking about the threats this night introduces. Night 1 only introduces 2 threats, that being SpongeBob and Patrick like the first game. So let's start with SpongeBob first, who in this game upgraded from Twink mode to Giga Chad mode because just look at him. He's so buff, it's insane. SpongeBob is super basic. Again, roam the cameras and eventually make it to your left door. All you have to do is close it and eventually he'll give you a visual cue that he left. But I'll talk more about the visual cue in just a second. His jump scare is him bitch slapping you. So I think that's pretty cool. Patrick is much the same, except he attacks your right door instead of your left. Now, the interesting part about these guys is when the door is closed, the light to the closed door will flicker. When it stops flickering, this is how you'll know that whoever was at the door is no longer there and you're safe to open the door again. This took me forever to figure out, and I didn't notice it until my second playthrough when researching for this video. So let's make sure we keep this in mind for later. Moving on to to night 2, it introduces 2 new threats, and it's the same 2 threats from the previous game that introed on this night, Squiddy and Sandy. Sandy is by far the most interesting character in this entire game. She's also the only character that doesn't attack you directly. Instead, she attacks the generator that's in your sub-camera BF2. When she gets into this room, she won't attack the generator immediately, but after a bit of her being in there, you'll notice the whole building will start to flicker. This is how you know she's finally attacking. When this happens, all you have to do is turn on overdrive and this will electrocute her and make her leave for a while. I actually really like this mechanic because using overdrive is super helpful throughout the game, but now you really have to be wary of when you use it, since if you use it to deal with somebody and then Sandy attacks, you might not have enough time to be able to use it again before she completely destroys the generator. This is such good synergy. I actually really like it. Obviously, Squiddy is the other threat introduced on this night, and he's pretty simple. He's this game's vent character, and he does exactly what you'd think he does. He'll make his way to your vents to try and attack you from above. All you have to do is close the vent he's trying to crawl through before he crawls through it, and we'll have no problem. He doesn't make a sound cue upon entering your vents though, so you will have to constantly check. Something interesting about him is that he glitches through the vent door when you close it, so that's kind of interesting. He also probably has my favorite character design throughout the entire game. I just like the long, lanky character type thing. I'm sure you can tell. Moving on to night 3, we of course only have one new threat to talk about, as this game is introducing characters in the exact same order as the first game. This character is Mr. Krabs. He is by far the easiest character to deal with throughout this entire game. He will try to attack through the window in front of you just like Squiddy from the first game. However, instead of spamming your light on him, all you have to do is hold it on him for him to go away. Also, if your flashlight is on, he won't be able to enter the window until it is turned off. So if you glitched your flashlight at the start of the night like you should be doing every time, then Krabs will be unable to ever show up at your window. And even if he somehow did, since you don't have to flash him and your light is always on, you'll deal with him without trying every time anyways. During this night, we get another call from the good phone guy, who says we only need to hold out for a few more nights as he tries to pinpoint our location. He promises to get us out of here safely, and of course gets cut off by the poop in my pants spawning evil phone guy. Evil guy tells us that the boss, probably Plankton, gave him a note that reads, "Krabs is a backstabbing traitor." No idea what that could possibly have to do with anything, but sure. Moving on to night 4, we do have some new threats to talk about, those being Phantom Squiddy, Phantom SpongeBob, and Phantom Patrick. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, you really have to try to die to these 3, since you will probably never do it by accident. I actually didn't even know these 3 existed until doing research for this video, but the wiki states, if you look at camera 18, 5, or 9 for too long, then you will see one of the 3 phantoms. If you exit the monitor, the phantoms will appear in the window outside of the office, and they'll kill you as soon as you pull the cameras back up. Now, usually this would seem like an interesting mechanic, but the 3 cameras this happens on literally have no purpose, so you never need to look at them in the first place. Again, you have to actively try to die to these 3. They're not a problem at all. We get another phone call from Good Guy tonight. He says that he's found our location and he's on his way. He starts another sentence with the word but before we can even hear what he was going to say, the call gets cut and we hear from Dr. Evil again. He says, doesn't he know it's rude to interrupt? Which is brutally ironic considering he just interrupted the other phone guy, but whatever. He says that today is our last night and that a deal is a deal. He says he doesn't get his paycheck until we die, so it sounds like he's going to be ramping up the animatronic AI, and that he definitely did. The strategy for this night is simple. Start with the flashlight glitch and then just check your vent cams and your right hall cam and you'll easily get the win every time. But even after we win, despite night 5 supposedly being the last night, we of course still have a night 6 to talk about. Night 6 begins with a phone call from Good Guy. He says he's arrived at the building, but the doors are bolted tight. He tells us to hold out a little longer as he thinks of another way to get us out. No phone call from Evil Guy this time, and we just get thrown right into night 6. The strategy for this night is the same as night 5, so just do that again. This night really isn't a problem at all. There's not much of interest to even talk about. This night does split the game into 2 endings, the first being just surviving night 6. Afterwards, we get a pretty cool cutscene, but I honestly think it's better if you just watch it for yourself.
Hello? I can see you through the glass. The doors, they're stuck fast. I can't get it open. Could you try from your side?
So yeah, before we can get out, we get fucking murked by the robots and our friend basically just gets to watch us die. So that's not fucked up at all. So that brings up the question, how on earth do we get the true ending? Well, that comes in the form of 720 mode because of course it does. 720 mode really isn't that bad. It's obviously the hardest night you'll play, but the same strategy from night 6 applies here. So you'll really just need a small tiny bit of luck and this night is a cakewalk. Once again, after completing it, we get a cutscene and just take a look for yourself. So yeah, I don't really know what the hell that was. I don't know if this is supposed to be our player or the good guy, maybe even the evil guy. Again, no idea. I don't know why they reached out to Squiddy, and I also have no idea why Squiddy is the character we see in this cutscene over someone else. Very weird stuff, but that is where the second game comes to a close, and we can move on to the third and final game in the series. The third game is by far the best in the series, even though I'm willing to bet that the second game is probably the most well-known. Upon loading into the game, we're greeted to a cutscene of Hammerhead, this game's main antagonist, dragging us somewhere. The plot for this game is pretty simple. Hammerhead is mad he never got to meet us in person. I don't know who the fuck Hammerhead is, by the way, but whatever. He states he wants to stop what he's doing, but he's not in control of his own body anymore, whatever that means. He dwells on his newly found power, and the cutscene ends. Loading into the office, there is a lot we have to learn, so I'll break it down as best I can. And there's no better place to start than the tools at our disposal. Hooray! This is the third time I'm talking about these in a single video. Aren't you guys so excited to hear me talk about them? Well, too bad, because here we go. Let's start by talking about power. This time around, it's once again limited. However, it is possible to recharge it. In the drawer of our desk, we have a bunch of spare fuses. However, you only need 2 to turn the power on. Behind us is a fuse box and a lever for the power. The fuse box has 3 switches. When the power is on, you will always be using 20% of your power no matter what. There's nothing you can do about that. The first fuse switch is for the hallway lights. These are how we're going to deal with certain threats we'll talk about later. This takes up 10% of your power usage, and every time you use the hallway lights, they instantly drain 7% of your power. The second switch covers your cameras, which are actually going to be super useful in this game, unlike the previous 2. Using your camera uses 25% of your power usage. And the third switch is for the reactor coolant. This is because your office actually has a core that needs to be cooled or else it just explodes. You can turn all of your switches on at the same time. However, as I'm sure you could imagine, this will absolutely tank your power. You can use the switch to turn off all of the power, which will recharge it, but you really shouldn't keep it off for too long. You should also always make sure you're holding on to 2 fuses so that when you need to replace them, you don't first need to go grab them. The next tool I want to talk about is the tape player. It's connected to our power system, however, it doesn't actually use any of the power. As long as your power isn't shut off, then you can use the tape player. The tape player can be turned off, however, if you keep it turned off, then the phantoms will attack you, so just keep it on. Yeah, it makes a bit of noise, but that's really not that big of a deal. Moving on to the cameras, in which there are really only 3 reasons to ever look at them. Those being the core room and your left and right hallways. There's one other cam that's a little useful, that being the vent cam, but surprise, surprise, the only threat that goes in there makes a sound cue, so you don't really need to check this camera anyways, as long as you have ears. Now we should talk about your core reactor EMP. I told you guys there's a lot to learn in this game, and I wasn't lying. On your desk, you'll see a big red button like this is Deal or No Deal with Baldy Mandel. Pressing it will release an EMP in your office core. This takes no power, however, it does blow one of your fuses when you use it. I'll talk a bit more about it once we talk about the single threat that actually interacts with this mechanic. Finally, we need to talk about your exposure meter. Something amazing I can mention right now is that this game has no find them on the camera mechanics, which this game easily could have implemented. I'm just creaming myself just thinking about it. I can't lie. Once we reach night 2, we get the ability to increase our exposure meter. 2 threats will be able to interact with this, but of course, I'll talk about them when they become relevant. Just be patient. Now, instead of a phone call, we actually get to watch a little video before each night, which is pretty cool. Usually, this just explains how to deal with the threats of the night, but the very first one actually has some exposition. It explains that we are in the Type 63 nuclear power station, and we have to make sure that the power in this station isn't lost. Also, apparently, this takes place during a war between America and I think Russia. I think it's Russia. I don't remember. I don't really know if it even said it, but there we go. But I'm not really sure why defending it is our problem or why Hammerhead dragged us here to deal with this, but sure, we'll deal with it. Now, let's start talking about the 3 threats this night introduces. The first we'll talk about are the phantoms, which I've kind of already mentioned. Just play the tape player throughout the night and they won't bother you. Hammerhead is obviously this game's main threat, so we'll talk about him first. He's actually the only character that isn't a SpongeBob character, at least I think. I haven't seen the show in a long time, but I'm pretty sure this dude does not appear in it. But feel free to tell me if I'm wrong in the comments. Hammerhead is actually the phone guy, and apparently after Squiddy killed him, which is what I imagine was happening in the final cutscene of the second game, his brain was implanted into the Hammerhead animatronic. So now here we are dealing with him. And dealing with him is super simple. He'll make his way to either of your hallways. All you have to do is flash him and he'll go away. No big deal at all. He doesn't make a sound cue when he arrives, which is why checking the cameras is so important in this game. The next threat to talk about is called the Amalgam. This is a hybrid of SpongeBob, Patrick, and Mr. Krabs all at once, which is disgusting, by the way. Kind of reminds me of that one SpongeBob episode where Squiddy and the Bob merged together. Just foul. He's quite literally exactly the same as Hammerhead. Can attack both of your hallways, just track him on the cameras and flash him when he enters a hallway, and it's GG. Something about all of these games, as I'm sure you've noticed, is that there's nothing to do post-nights. No cutscenes, no dialogue, no mini-games. So we can just move right into the next night, which, just in case you can't count, puts us into night 2 this time around. Night 2 introduces 2 new threats, one of them actually being a character we've never seen before. So let's talk about the one we have seen before, that being Squiddy. He's one of the characters that attacks your vents, just like in the last game. You can watch the vent camera, but again, he makes a very obvious sound cue when he's coming to the office through the vents, so you don't really need to be checking the camera for him. The way you deal with him is easy and really feels like One Night at Flumpty's 2. All you have to do is turn around and turn the power off before he arrives. He'll drop down in front of you for a few seconds and then go away. Obviously, if you don't turn the lights off fast enough, then he'll just quickly fill your exposure meter, and if that fills up completely, then he'll start digging in your butt, twin. Get it? Because there was that Mr. Krabs start digging in your butt twin meme. No? Okay, I just end myself. Let's move on.
Mr. Krabs, start digging in your butt, twin.
That's so stupid. The other threat this night introduces is Karen, which of course we haven't seen yet, so that's pretty cool. I guess when you merge 3 of your characters into one character, you kind of have to add some new ones, don't you? Anyways, Karen is more of a nuisance character rather than an actual threat. She will randomly place pop-ups on any of your monitors, slowly trying to hack you. Obviously, just close them. However, something interesting about her is that she can still attack even when your power is off. But luckily, she does play a sound cue. If you let her hack you completely, then Sandy will easily be able to murk your shit. So just don't let that happen. At this point in the game, you won't really need a crazy strategy. Just check the hallway cameras for Hammerhead and the Amalgam, watch out for pop-ups, and deal with Squiddy when you need to. Pretty easy so far, so let's jump right into night 3. Night 3 only introduces 1 new threat, but I'm willing to bet you can guess who it is. If you said Corey from Corey in the House, then congratulations, because you probably just said the stupidest shit you could have said. It's Sandy. Sandy is the new threat on this night. Sandy is the only character in this game that can attack your core. So of course, this is where that red button comes into play. She will randomly appear in your core camera and start attacking it. It's also on this night where your core will get a health bar at the bottom of the screen. If it goes all the way down, then then I'm sure you could guess, you lose. When you see her attacking the core, all you have to do is press the EMP button on your desk and this will make her go away. However, doing this does also blow up one of your fuses, so you'll have to replace that soon after. Pretty cool overall, but sadly she is the last new addition to this entire game. Night 4 adds nothing new to the gameplay loop, just being a harder version of Night 3, but on this night we do get to watch a video that shows something pretty cool. In this video, we learned that the US won whatever war they were taking part in, and that means we will no longer be needed in the place we're in. So then that brings up the question of what the fuck am I still doing here if the US won the war? I don't know. The video says that officials will be coming to our sites soon, hopefully to discharge us, but that means we still have some more nights to survive through. Strategy is obviously the same on this night. However, night 5 is where this game cranks shit up to the max. Finally, the previous 2 games have been so boring, but night 5 in this game is actually pretty awesome and serves to be the boss fight night. Hammerhead basically just says he's God or something and then goes AWOL. He takes the role of every character we've seen so far while still having some other attacks of his own. So let's go over all of them. His first attack is his usual attack with a small upgrade. You still have to flash him in the hallways, but if you don't do it fast enough, he'll quickly fill your exposure meter. And no, turning off the lights like Squiddy does not prevent the meter from increasing. This guy has night vision or something going on, I have no idea. Here's something really awesome about Hammerhead. For some reason, he gets the ability to pump fake the shit out of you during this night, meaning that if he attacks your left hallway, he has the chance to run through your office just to get to the right side and attack from there, making you waste a flash on the left side only to then make you have to flash the right side. He thankfully gives you plenty of time to process this, so that's nice, but it's also completely random whether he'll fake you or not, so you really have to stay on your toes. His third attack is really just Squiddy, by far his easiest since he still makes the sound cue, and for some reason during this attack he decides to turn off the night vision, since turning off your power for this attack will prevent the exposure meter from increasing. His fourth attack has him take Sandy's attack and throw haymakers at your core, except he deals damage way faster than Sandy did. Same thing as her though, just press the EMP button and you'll be chillin'. Just gotta be a lot faster than you've been used to being. His final attack is Karen's attack, just adding viruses to your monitors. However, he can do this at the same time as any of his other attacks. When did he get the ability to do this? I have no idea, but we'll deal with it. Obviously, Hammerhead is the only threat on night 5, and this is because he murked every other character. Why did he do this if the goal was to kill us and they could have helped? That I have no idea. That part doesn't really make sense to me, but I suppose we can slide that little plot hole under the rug. This night is by far the most enjoyable part of the entire trilogy. It's just a shame that the rest of the games couldn't have been as interesting as this one was, since this game was actually really fucking cool. After completing night 5, we get one final cutscene where our player is talking. Just take a look.
Hello, hello. I always wondered why you answered the phone like that. You know, I wasn't sure this was how the story would end. Hell, I barely even believe any of it happened at all. I was broke, living in LA, and I accepted a job with shit pay just to make rent. Man, does that sound like the start of a B-grade horror flick? Doesn't make it much better that I was in a Nickelodeon-themed restaurant. Honestly, I'd have made more money if I took the ad and wrote the movie it was begging me to write, but nope. Instead, I called them up and aced the interview like an absolute sucker. Go me, I guess. I wasn't even there a day before I realized things were off. Apparently, the whole thing was caused by this one guy with ties to TBS. I think he and Eugene from Viacom had been feuding privately over some dirty investments, and you and I got caught in the middle. After the incident in the power plant, I woke up 3 months later in Iceland. Apparently, I made a break for it after you went psycho and got away. I still don't know how. I got picked up by a fisherman and his crew. I tried to tell my story, but, of course, no one believed me. How could they? I was stalked halfway across the ocean by SpongeBob characters. What else am I supposed to say? I still think I'm insane just writing this, but I don't even think I could make this up if I desperately wanted to. I had myself admitted as soon as I got back to the States. The night terrors just wouldn't stop, and I needed all the help I could get. I could see its face. Your face. Whenever I closed my eyes or walked into a dark room. How screwed up is that? Well, it's no matter now, I hope. The doc's given me the go-ahead to be discharged. Thankfully, they've got a job lined up for me. I'm a night guard. Jesus. Why did I even say yes to that? Well, it should be fine. I'm just watching a mall in some backwater town in Oregon. Myriad Square Gardens, I think it's called. Hopefully no more mascots, no more robots, and no more fear. Anyway, this is my last journal entry from the hospital, so wish me luck back out in the wide world. From the Journal of Eli Floyd, former night guard at the Krusty Krab-themed restaurant in Santa Monica, May 9th, 2007. Adios, Hammerhead.
So there we go. With that final cutscene, the Krusty Krab trilogy comes to a close. The final game does have a custom night and a nightmare mode, but you don't unlock any other interesting story bits from doing so I'm not going to talk about them. Asset dumping. The art of using random art from around the internet as all of your assets in a game. Seen with games like Getting Over It, Yandere Simulator, and plenty more. Five Nights at Freddy's games have their fair share of asset dumping as well. Five Nights at Wario's, One Night at Chica's Magic Rainbow, and of course, the very popular One Night at Frogger's. Usually seen as a very lazy way of creating art for your game, mainly because the creator isn't actually creating any art at all, but not all asset dumps are bad, and in its own way, they're an art form themselves, if you can build your environments properly. The game we'll be covering today is an asset dump fan game, and it's honestly become my favorite I've ever played. Today, we'll be talking about Late Shift at Nintendo World, the most stressful FNAF game I've ever played. Strap in, because I promise you, despite what it looks like, there's so much to talk about. So let's drag our balls into Night 1. Night 1, where it all begins, and where you might already become overwhelmed by the amount of possible things this game is about to throw at you. To start, I love the visual style of this game. While yes, it is just the typical asset dump, there are so many references stuffed into this game, it's amazing. And on top of that, the space in each room and camera is filled up so nicely. It's cluttered, but not so much so to the point that my eyes melt out of my skull. Anyways, before we start talking about the whopping 3 threats this night introduces, let's talk about the tools at our disposal and the locations we can travel to. Locations? What does that mean, Dexter? Well, a location is a place you can go, you fucking moron. The first location is obviously your office. You'll see you have a large hallway in front of you and of course your cameras. Your cameras are pretty basic, except for the fact that they're dark as fuck. So we've been equipped with a camera flashlight. The way this flashlight works really makes me want to smother an owl. Every time you use it, only certain cameras will be lit up, since some cameras are outside where the flashlight doesn't reach. The camera light will only stay on for so long before shutting off, and making you wait for a cooldown to be able to turn it on again. Thankfully, the cameras aren't completely pitch black, so my balls get to stay attached to my body for another day. Now, let's talk about the second area you can go to, the outside fence area. Turning around, you'll find a large electric fence. You can tell it's an electric fence because it tells you so, which is very kind. You can hold down a button to charge up the electric fence, and when it charges, the fence will be shocked. Pretty sure that's not how an electric fence works, but to each their own, I suppose. And finally, the last place you can travel is the back shed. The only thing you can do here is hold the door to lock it. While that may seem a bit eerie and intimidating, you'd be right. It really is. But worry not, I'll cover why this place is so important in a little bit. With all of that out of the way, we can talk about the 3 threats this night introduces. Let's start with the main attraction himself, Mario. Mario is disgusting. Literally, look at this model. What the fuck is this thing? Ew. Dude, that thing is fucking nasty. Anyways, now that we're done pointing and laughing at him, what does he do? Mario will work his way to your office through 3 cameras. On each of these cameras, above your light button, you'll notice a music button also appears. If you ever see Mario on one of these cameras, simply press the music button and he will be pushed back 1 camera. Note that he won't be pushed all the way back to his starting camera. So if he travels through multiple cameras, you'll have to follow the cameras pushing him back 1 by 1. Very simple character. As long as you're constantly watching him, which you probably will be, he really shouldn't be an issue. The second threat this night introduces is Mario's taller, skinnier, and much more fuckable brother, Luigi. I'd let his mustache tickle my taint. What? Anyways, Luigi makes use of that spooky little back shed we were talking about earlier. Luigi will appear on camera 9, which connects directly to the hallway in front of your office. You will need to constantly watch camera 9 for when Luigi appears, and once he disappears from camera 9, then you will know he's in your hallway. Something else you'll notice is that you'll never actually see Luigi in your hallway, and there's no camera for the hallway either, and he won't actually appear in the office as well. So you really need to be paying attention. Once you know that Luigi is in your hallway, you will need to hop bottom to the back shed and hold the door locked. Luigi will peer in at you, meaning he was following your big fat juicy bouncing jiggling ass all the way over here. Once Luigi leaves the window of the shed, you're free to go back to the office. Luigi brings up a great synergy with Mario. Both requiring plenty of attention on the cameras really goes to make these two a dangerous combo, and I really don't want to be stuffed by 2 Italian sausages. I also wouldn't want to eat a sausage anyways. Oh! Oh! Whoa. 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 That's cool. That's cool. I do like that. That is pretty fucking cool. I do like that. This game's gonna get fucking hard, isn't it, dude? The final threat this night introduces is Pikachu. For some fucking reason. But whatever. Pikachu makes use of the big electric fence behind you. Occasionally, Pikachu will be visible behind it, and this is when you'll notice that apparently Pikachu came from fucking Jurassic Park because this fat motherfucker is the size of Jupiter. Of course, once you see Pikachu trying to get a peek at your pecker, see what I did there? All you have to do is charge up the electric fence and give him a taste of his own medicine by shocking him like he does to Ash, and he finally will leave you alone again. I can handle a lot, but I personally think an 18-foot tall Pikachu meat between my buns would be a little too much for me. But if you can manage to learn how all these characters work together, you'll move on to Night 2. Night 2 introduces a plethora of new threats, signaling to me that this may be one of the most challenging FNAF games I will ever play. It's only Night 2, and 2 new threats are added, bringing the total number of threats on Night 2 all the way up to 5. So let's talk about them. The first threat introduced on Night 2 is Kirby. I love Kirby. Kirby would never hurt me. That's a lie. This Kirby certainly would. On both your boiler room camera and back room camera, you will see 2 heat symbols have appeared. Kirby will attempt to get into your office via either of these 2 vents. So hooray! We have 2 more mandatory cameras that require our attention. The way you deal with Kirby is simple. Same as Luigi. When he enters the camera, all is good. But the moment he disappears from the camera means he's about to start rolling through your vent and into your office. When he disappears, hit the heat button to scare Kirby out of the vents. The heat only lasts 1 second, however, so you really need to make sure you time it properly. However, now is the time I get to tell you about the worst and most frustrating character we've seen so far, Meta Knight. That's right, we get 2 Kirby characters introduced at once, and just like Meta Knight in Smash Bros, he is an annoying pain in the dick. Meta Knight acts as a Foxy-like character in this game. He will appear in camera 2, which is the entrance. He will make his way through a few stages, and once he disappears from camera 2, he will charge at your office, and you'll be able to hear his footsteps quickly approaching. What you'll have to do is, as fast as you fucking can, run to the back shed and lock the door. Come in real close for me, just for a second. I'm gonna whisper this in your ear, so make sure you turn your volume up so you can hear me. You got it? Yeah? Volume all the way up? Okay, great. Don't let anyone know I told you this, okay? Meta Knight is so goddamn cock-sucking fast! You barely have any time to react once you hear his footsteps coming. You quite literally have just enough time to get to the back shed and close the door. This motherfucker is brutal. But Dexter, you're supposed to watch him in camera 2, and once he leaves, then you go to the shed. Sounds pretty easy to me. Shut the fuck up! While yes, it's true that once he leaves camera 2, he will charge at you, watching him really doesn't even fucking matter. Because the moment he leaves 2, the sound cue of him running starts playing. So you might as well just wait for the fucking sound cue, since watching him will only waste the precious time you need to focus on the other characters that actually do give you the time of day to deal with them. And if that wasn't bad enough, Meta Knight is in the entrance, an outdoor camera, which means not only is it dark as fuck, but Well, your fucking camera light doesn't work on that camera anyways! So you have to rely on the fucking lightning to be able to see jack dick from that camera. But the lightning is not consistent at all. It's completely random, and it only lights up outside cameras for, oh, I don't know, maybe less than a fucking second. So if you want to check the entrance, you either have to just fucking sit there and wait for the lightning to show up, which could take several seconds that you need to be using to check on the other characters, or you could wait to hear the lightning and try to quickly flip to camera 2 to check on this annoying fucker. Both options suck dick, so I guess pick your fucking poison. But if you can tighten your sphincter and listen closely and have reflexes like a god for long enough, Meta Knight will fold, you will complete night 2, and we can begrudgingly move on to night 3, where I can only hope to God that 3 more characters aren't introduced. Night 3, here we are. Let me tell you guys, this night does nothing to help with my crippling mental state. Because let me tell you, this night is hard. Like, really fucking hard. Let's talk about the threats introduced and why this night is so ass. This night only introduces 2 threats. However, one of them is easily the most infuriating character in this entire game. So let's talk about the one that doesn't make me want to stick my willy in a pencil sharpener first. Link. Link appears in the courtyard where we deal with Pikachu. You'll notice on this night that as you go to the courtyard, you'll now be equipped with a metal pipe. This pipe is used as a form of defense against Link. When Link appears in the courtyard, he will giggle really fucking loud to let you know he's there. You will have to hit him 3 times in order for him to go away. Every time you hit him, he will teleport to a different spot on the screen. However, you can only hit him when the Majora's Mask's eyes are red. If they're blue, you'll have to stare at him until they turn red before you can start hitting him. This brings up even more evil synergies with fuck-ass Meta Knight, since you won't be able to pass him until you kill him. Bro, he won't die. What? He wouldn't die. The Majora's Mask guy wouldn't die. And Meta Knight was coming. What was I supposed to do? Now, let's talk about one of the worst and most stressful characters known to mankind, Ness. On night 3, you'll notice in the shed that we now have a new addition of a fuse box. However, you'll notice that this fuse box only has 1 fuse, but there are 3 places for a fuse to go. You can freely move this fuse from one slot to another, but what does this fuse actually control? Well, on 3 cameras on the map that connect to the hallway in front of your office, there is a fire alarm in each of them. However, the button for the fire alarm will only appear on the camera that is adjacent to whichever slot in the fuse box holds the fuse. So if your fuse is in slot B, then camera 9 will have the smoke alarm button on the cameras. Ness will appear in any of these 3 possible cameras. When he appears on one of them, you will have to play the smoke alarm to scare him away. Yes, this means that if your fuse is in slot B and you see Ness on camera 11, you will have to quickly run all the way to the back shed and switch the fuse to slot C, then run all the way back and hope you were fast enough to play the smoke alarm in time. And you want to hear the best part? Ness blends in with the background while the lights are off better than any other character in this entire fucking game. So have fun being able to find him. He also really likes to hide on the side of the cameras, so you'll have to spend even more time slowly panning the 3 cameras he can be in back and forth to really be able to tell if he's in one of them. Easily the character I died to the most, which you can see over on my second channel, Dexter Black. I think I'm willing to say I hate Ness more than Meta Knight, honestly, but it's really, really close. Fuck Ness, he's a bitch. Night 4. Holy shit. I did not think they could make it any worse. And that's exactly what they did. Night 4 adds 3 new characters. Yes, I'm serious. They added 3 more fucking characters to this game, bringing the total up to like fucking, I don't know, 12? I'm not keeping track anymore. This is just insane. Before we start talking about the threats, Juniper, the phone girl, told us that there's an investigation going on. She doesn't tell us what it's about though, just says that the park might close soon for a while. She also does mention that some of the characters are starting to attack patrons during the day, so that bodes great for what they're going to do to us tonight. Speaking of, who are they? Well, let's talk about the smallest problem this night introduces, Fox Puppet. But it's really just fucking Star Fox. Star Fox has a chance to appear in the courtyard behind the fence. However, he is not a fan of being shocked by it, so if you electrocute him, he's gonna dive into your butt. Get it? Because foxes do that thing where they jump really high and dive, but he's diving into your... You get it, fuck me. When he's at your fence, all you have to do is spam your flashlight at him and he'll go away. Really not a big deal at all, and honestly, the amount of time you have to flash him is pretty forgiving. And you can even go to the back shed while he's standing there if you really want to, so in all honesty, he's not that bad. However, the next fuckhead we'll have to talk about is a pain in the dick, Captain Olimar. I'm pretty sure is who this is, at least. He will appear in the hallway in your office with 2 sets of eyes. I mention his eyes because they're very important to his attack. On night 4, a thermostat will become present in your back shed, and he directly correlates with this thermostat. When you hear him enter your office, which is signaled by some footsteps, you will have to look at his eyes. If both sets of eyes are red, you will have to run to the back shed and set the thermostat to hot. If they're both blue, set it to cold, and if one set is blue and the other set are red, then set the thermostat to mixed. After a few seconds, Olimar should go away. I don't think I need to explain why this is so horseshit to deal with, especially considering the amount of characters that require so much attention, so I'm not even gonna bring it up. Just know that I'm on the verge of peeling my foreskin like a banana. The final threat this night introduces, which yes, in case you forgot, there is still another threat to throw on top of all this bullshit, is Samus. Samus will enter your office through your hallway on either side. The cameras in which she will try to enter from will now be equipped with a lock button. They're not toggleable and must be held to hold the gutters shut. When you see Samus in either of these cameras, simply hold the lock button shut for a few seconds and she'll run away. Ironically enough, even with all of these threats active, Ness is still the character that has caused me the most suffering throughout this game. He is easily the most frustrating threat of all time. I've also died to Luigi a decent handful of times at this point, just because of how easy it is to forget about him. There is surely no way this game can get any harder. Right? It got harder, so let's talk about it. The phone call from Juniper on this night has her talking about how I shouldn't come to work tomorrow and that I'm stupid for clocking in today. That we agree on. I'm not really sure why I'm here. Apparently things are getting super dangerous, so that's awesome. There's a new threat on this night who doesn't like bright lights, so Juniper said she's changed out our camera lights. Great! Hopefully they're better now. They're worse. Oh, so very worse than they were before. Now, instead of having the brightness on the cameras for a few seconds and having a long recharge time, we now have less than a second flash of light and we get a faster recharge time. This is worse in every single conceivable way possible. Dude, this new flashlight thing, fuck this. Oh my god. What is this guy gonna look like, dude? Fuck me. I personally think that a great deal of this game's difficulty comes from it being difficult to see and track the characters. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, by the way. I know the retards over on Reddit like to misconstrue every single point I've ever made. No, I think it's cool that finding the characters is a challenge. However, now only having this small flash of light makes it so fucking much more AIDS-ridden to be able to do so. So, why on earth was our camera light downgraded this badly? Well, to deal with the one new threat this night introduces. Mario. Dexter? Mario was already introduced on night 1. Did you already forget? No, dear viewer. I did not forget that. There are just 2 fucking Marios now. Why not? Fuck it, right? Why not add another existing Nintendo character? Why Mario again? I have no fucking idea. I don't really understand the thought process here, but we're just gonna shut our fucking mouths and roll with it. This Mario is easily the most stress-inducing character we've seen so far. More stressful than Ness, more stressful than Meta Knight. Occasionally, throughout this night, you'll hear Mario say, Wahoo. And that just means bad news for you. Do you want to take a solid guess as to what you have to do when you hear this sound cue? Go on, go ahead. Guess for me. I've not really complained about any of the mechanics introduced so far, as I feel each of them are pretty unique and offer something of substance to the gameplay loop. So come on, tell me what you think this game is about to do to me. Come here, come here, come here, come here, guess! Guess, you piece of shit! Guess what this game did to me! You have to go find Mario on one of the cameras at random and flash him with your light. I'll find them on the camera mechanic again! How many videos in a row have we had this on this channel? I don't think there's ever been a video where this dog shit cock-sucking mechanic wasn't present! And that's not all. No. Not only do you have to find him on a random camera that he teleports to once, no, you have to find him on a random camera that he teleports to 3 times in a fucking row! Are you kidding me? Most characters in this game only have you deal with them once or twice throughout the night. Mario? At least fucking 3! You have to find this motherfucker on a random camera, while timed, by the way, and dealing with every other character at the same time, a whopping 9 fucking times! Fuck! 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 I can't fucking handle this shit. This is too much for my brain to handle. Over 10 fucking characters to deal with at the same goddamn time. And all of a sudden I'm in with this bullshit. This game is shoving carrots in my ass like some Bugs Bunny shit. What the fuck is wrong with you? Give me another character that forces me to go to this shit. I don't give a fuck. Not another find them on the fucking camera character. You've got to be fucking me in my rear. Go find my dick. Go find my ass. Go find my balls. Go find my taint. Go find my tits. Chop my penis into 10 fucking pieces and throw each piece onto a camera and go fucking find them all. Fuck you! Nintendo, no, you ain't gonna stop me when I get it going. I ain't gonna slow, no, curtains ain't closing. Pouring all the salt, keep the insults flowing. Light up all the incense, come before the storm. Gather in the Smash Bros army like a swarm. Find them on the cameras, nothing but the norm. Cause another crash out, dog, I'm getting bored. Said, dog, I'm getting bored with you. I'm warning you, you don't really wanna start another war, do you? I don't know who's been around here misinforming you. When you fuck with Dexter, what the horn's pouring at you. Up first, Mario is on the chopping block. The fat fuck plumber getting nothing on his cock. His bitch is locked up with a lizard, dropping cheeks on his rock hard fucking penis round the clock. God damn, it's fucking embarrassing. Her hair's in a bun and he's burying himself in her and she's having fun and he's getting his coming her, sending videos of him fucking her. Check your messages and see. I'll get her home when I'm done with her. Daisy's with him too, Luigi don't know the truth. He's staring at the video, skin white like King Boo. Does he dare to check another? No, it ain't true. Check your Snapchat, bro, she's saying he's bigger than you. Damn! I dumb bitch, I've been locked in on like Samus and that other bitch, Mega Man. Link on my shit, I could knock you with both hands. Make your head spin, do a dance on your can. Pikachu, flash a light of Pikachu. You behind the fence, I charge it up and thunderbolt you. Now you fried up, but we still got another hoe to boot. Star Fox turn, flash, epilepsy. Ooh! You get a seizure, Kirby in my heater. Blast his ass into the fucking ether. Samus back, her ass so fat I need her. Call her lowest way, she grip my Peter. Nintendo, no! Never gonna switch games, I'm about to blow. I've been making big waves, I've been good to go. Do you need to hit save, Annie, yes or no? Nintendo, no! I've been shooting at them like it's Rochambeau. I could kamikaze on their Rainbow Road. I might cause a riot when I beat them bros. Do you need to hit save, Annie, yes or no? Alright, coming real close. Answer me this question, why you bitches on my chode? Ness is looking at me, licking lips, don't want it though. Gotta flip the fuse box, keep this on the low. Alright, look, I don't know why you're doing this shit. I'm just trying to do my job and you keep riding on my dick. If it was Samus, that'd be fine, but it'd be everybody. Why just trying to make it through the week, but you keep stretching out the time. Like my asshole, keep on pulling me in with a lasso. Ride me like a cowboy in the desert in El Paso. Friday come along and met a night beyond me bed. And matter of fact, he spanked me with a paddle, made my ass rattle. Put a saddle on me, hit me with a rowel, then he growl in the locker room. So he hit me with a towel, then he plowing on my shit. I'm doing tricks up on his stick. I did the splits contortionist aboard that flip me over, slide me, bend me over backwards. Nintendo, no! Never gonna switch games, I'm about to blow. I've been making big waves, I've been good to go. Do you need to hit save, Annie, yes or no? Nintendo, no! I've been shooting at them like it's Rochambeau. I could kamikaze on their Rainbow Road. I might cause a riot when I beat them bros. Do you need to hit save, Annie, yes or no? Well, glad I got all that out of my system. With that, we can move on to night 6 and talk about something that actually doesn't make me want to kill myself. However, it does still lay a lot on you. Loading into night 6, you'll see we're no longer in the office and we are now actually in a fucking bunker. How did we get here? I have no idea, but that doesn't really matter. What does matter, however, are the new tools at our disposal. However, me explaining all of them to you right now will not be very helpful. So I'll quickly explain the general tools, and then we'll talk about the character-specific ones as we learn about said characters. Obviously, we have our cameras, pretty self-explanatory. We also have 3 entrances to our office, the big hallway right in front of us, and 2 doors to our left and right. These doors can be closed remotely through the cameras, but you have to slowly charge them up before they can close, and only one can be closed at a time. Also, at any time we'd like, we can cut the power to our office and be left in complete darkness with our thoughts, like me late at night questioning what I'm even doing anymore. But this isn't a therapy session, so let's continue. What about the threats introduced on this night? Given the fact we're in a different location, it has to be different characters, right? Well, that would actually be correct. However, one of the characters is a repeat. Remember that one Mario that I really didn't like from Night 5? I know I was pretty subtle about it. Well, it appears he followed us down here. However, he is incredibly easy to deal with this time around. He'll wander around the cameras and eventually find his way into your office. Once he stands in front of you, menacingly, all you have to do is whip out your fucking baton like my Willy and tase him in the balls. I'm not kidding. This is fucking awesome and is just what I need after dealing with the bullshit he put me through on Night 5. The next threat introduced on this night is Mega Man. He is also pretty simple. He will try to enter your office through your left or right door. When you see him in that door's respective camera, simply charge up that door and seal it shut. Once he bangs on it, you're free to open the door again. Next, we've got to talk about the Villager. She confused me quite a bit during my playthrough, which you can see over on my second channel, Dexter Black. She will enter your office through any of the 3 possible entrances. Her rules state that once she enters your office, shut the lights off until you hear her run away. So tell me, what do you think that means? If you answered, wait until she appears in your office like Mario, then cut the lights until you hear footsteps, then turn the lights back on and continue, then you'd be completely fucking wrong, because she actually never appears in your office at all. You cannot see her when she's inside of your office, even if she is literally there. So, how are you meant to deal with her then? Well, you'll have to carefully track her on the cameras. When she enters camera 8, 7, or 6, her next movement will be into your office. So, if you see her on one of those cameras and then don't see her anymore, that means she's currently in your office and you need to cut the lights. The best part? If you have the left door closed and she goes to camera 6, indicating that she will be entering your office through the left door, even if it's closed like we've already established, she'll still be able to enter your office through that door. Isn't that just amazing? Anyways, I could point out the nuances all day long, but that's not what you're here for. The final threat introduced on this night is Andross, a character I've legitimately never seen before in my entire life. I've been able to recognize each character so far, even if I haven't played the game they were from, like Star Fox, for example. But Andross? What the fuck is even that? Okay, I just looked it up. It's the main antagonist of Star Fox. Crazy coincidence that I just mentioned Star Fox and that I've never played it. That would make sense as to why I didn't know who this was then. Anyways, what does he actually do? Well, in my opinion, he is the most annoying character on this night. He is completely invisible on the cameras, and if he ever gets into your office, you die. In order to track him, you have to use the camera's built-in motion detectors. However, something really interesting about these motion detectors is that they're a piece of shit. Every single camera has the motion detector button. However, only one of the buttons on the cameras will work at a time, at random, and every few seconds, which camera has the working button will switch randomly. Meaning that, even though there's no character on this night that has a find them on the camera mechanic, these fucked up, morbid devs somehow find a way to work that bullshit into the fucking UI! What the fuck are you doing to me? I need to relax. I can't scream anymore. Breathe. How do we deal with Andross? Well, when he is on either camera 8, 7, or 6, you will have to use your heater on whichever camera he's on. Using the UI on the cameras, you can select which camera the heater targets and then blast heat into said camera remotely. Doing so will scare Andross away. Now, that's all of the characters this night introduces. However, there's still one more very important thing I've neglected to mention. Unlike every other night present in this game, Night 6 has a task-based completion system rather than a survival-based one. So that bodes the question, what is the task we have to complete? Well, on the computer at your desk, there are 5 important files we have to decrypt and extract onto our USB drive. The way we decrypt them is simple. several strings of 4-digit number codes will appear on the monitor, and all we have to do is type them in. Type in several 4-string digit codes without messing up in a row, and trust me, it'll feel like you'll have to do this a billion fucking times, and you'll download one of the files. Do this for all 5 files, and the night is over. This task being added to this night easily makes it the most stressful mechanic this game has ever introduced. I was not expecting something like this from this game, and I honestly wasn't expecting a crazy final night like this in general. I'm all for it. Overall, I do still think Night 5 was harder than this night, but this was definitely a nice change of pace. After completing the night, we take our USB, run out of the bunker and into the parking lot, and drive off to the police station to show them our evidence. Looking back, we notice Mario followed us out and was left standing in the parking lot. We almost didn't make it out alive. It's revealed that our name isn't really Terrence, and we've secretly been an undercover investigator this entire time. The police raided Nintendo World and arrested the CEO, Leonard. Everything we mentioned in our report was found, except for one single thing: Mario himself. The only thing that was left to even prove he was present was his hat. Not knowing his whereabouts now, Late Shift at Nintendo World comes to a close. Kind of. There's actually a fuck ton more this game has to offer in the form of post-game content and challenges, with a whopping 12 additional characters for us to unlock and fuck around with. There's 9 other ones? There's 12 more? At the time of writing, I have no idea how these characters are achieved except for one. In the challenges menu, 2 fun challenges are present, and when I say fun, I really just mean ass. The first is blind mode, which will cause a constant blizzard to be present during the nights, making it harder to see in your office and in the courtyard. It also forces Night 5's shitty flash mechanic throughout the nights, and increases the amount of time you have to wait between flashes to make it even worse. And if that wasn't enough, blind mode still has one more big fuck you in the form of a new threat: the ice climbers. The way they work is pretty simple, but retarded nonetheless. They have a chance to appear in any of the 3 major locations you can be in. If you ever see them, you just have to go to another area until they leave. I can't describe how terrible that sounds. Again, at the time of writing this, I have no plans to attempt this challenge, nor any of the custom night modes, which I assume will unlock the remaining characters. I do have the thought of attempting these on stream in the coming weeks, so let me know if that's something you'd be interested in seeing me doing and covering. Overall, I think Late Shift at Nintendo World is actually amazing. While I did find a lot of the characters annoying and stressful, the overall gameplay loop is very satisfying to nail down and will leave you feeling like a badass as you complete it. Yes, the entire game is just an asset dump, but you can't deny the crazy amount of effort and care put into it, and that's something I can always appreciate. 2D FNAF fan games, something you don't see all too often in the mainstream. A few well-known titles may come to mind. Maybe you think of Playtime with Percy, One Night at Flumpty's, or maybe Too Many Nights pops into your head. However, as of recently, I'm sure there's another very popular 2D FNAF fan game that you can think of. One that's made the rounds in my comment section so much that I can't release any video without getting asked to cover it. Five Nights at Frederick's. I was honestly expecting to not like this game, and no, it's not because it's popular. Do you ever get that feeling where you look at something and you just feel like you're not going to like it? Food is a great example. Sure, I've never tried a Brussels sprout, but I can guarantee you that I'm not going to like it. This is the feeling I had when I first looked at Five Nights at Frederick's, and oh boy, am I ever glad you guys wouldn't shut up about it, because it has easily become one of my favorite FNAF games of all time. Sit the fuck down and listen to me, a 20-year-old, fully grown man, ramble about a game made for children once again. Five Nights at Frederick's is as simple as a FNAF game can get in terms of what is actually going on. Our character's name is Alan Fritter, and we see an ad in the newspaper. Oh great, a new job, let's apply. Frederick's doesn't try to break the mold here. However, don't let that fool you, as there still is a pretty interesting story this game has to tell. Given the fact there's not much exposition to talk about, we instead get to hop right into night 1 and go over to the office and look at the tools at our disposal. Our office looks very similar to the office from Five Nights at Freddy's 1. 2 doors to the right and left of us, some cameras, bada bing bada boom, classic Five Nights at Freddy's. So, why does this game stand out to me and so many others then? Well, I'm glad you asked. Opening up the cameras, we will see the first main gameplay loop Friedrichs has to offer. Going to the kitchen cameras, we will see that we're able to make pizzas. This will very quickly become the biggest priority in the entire game, but I'll go into more detail with it when it becomes relevant. But to keep it simple, always make sure you have a pizza cooking. When a pizza is done cooking, you will be able to hear a ding sound cue. That lets you know that you need to start making the next pizza. You'll notice that the doors in your office are replaced by lasers. This is one of the many interesting quirks this game has. Let's go over a few other fun stuff in the office. Occasionally, when you flip up the camera, some things have the chance to change in your office. For example, the main poster can change to have references to other fan games such as 5 Newfangled Nights, 5 Nights at Frick Bears 3, Not Bear, and Too Many Nights. I think including references to other fan games really helps pull the community together, which I really like. With that out of the way, now we can dive into the threats this night has to offer, starting with this game's Bonnie, or as this game calls him, Bernard das Karnickel. Yes, by the way, each of these characters in this game have been given a German name. If you'd like to know the reason why, tough shit, because even the dev doesn't know why he chose to do this. Bernard acts somewhat similarly to Bonnie, being the character that attacks your doors, except this time around he can attack both instead of just one. A big step up from what he usually does. Friedrichs has no lights on the doors, so you'll have to look out for Bernard's fingers to be able to tell that he's there. If he is, use the lasers to shock him and he'll run away. If you don't do so fast enough, he'll step into your office and kinda just stand there, blocking the laser button and just kinda stare at you with his dopey ass face. This is also a good portion of the video to bring up how the power usage in this game works. It's obviously the same as any other game in concept. The more things you're using that waste power, the higher the usage will be, and the higher the usage meter is, the faster your power drains. You'll notice a difference in this game than in a game like Five Nights at Freddy's 1, where in FNAF 1, the moment you stop using something, the usage will instantly decrease, whereas in Friedrichs, the power will decrease exponentially. However, this may also just be a visual thing, so maybe I'm just talking stupid right now. This night also introduces Chica, or as this game calls her, Clara das Kuchen. Clara is the reason why cooking the pizzas is so important. Clara will enter the kitchen. If a pizza is not cooking, she'll take charge and start cooking one herself. Except there's something really funny about that. And that's that she literally fucking sucks so bad at cooking you would not believe it. If you let Clara put her pizza into the oven, the building will very quickly start on fire. Very on par for a FNAF game, by the way. When the building is on fire, a brand new mechanic is introduced, the sprinkler system. If your building temperature reaches 120 degrees, none of the electronics in the building will work. That means no cameras and no lasers. This, of course, will result in a death, so you have to use the sprinklers to stop the fire. I honestly think that the sprinkler mechanic is the coolest addition in this entire game. Once you use the sprinklers, the monitor in your office will display how wet the building is. The higher the percentage, the longer it will take for things to activate when used. For example, once you use the sprinklers, it will shoot up to 100%. If you were to then do anything, from trying to start another pizza to using the lasers, you would have to wait around 2 seconds before they would actually activate after pushing them. This doesn't make the game impossible, and this percentage will slowly decrease back down to 0, but this is actually so fucking cool. It's something I don't think I've ever seen before. If you fail a mechanic in the game, instead of just losing, you're given the opportunity to correct yourself. However, it does come at the cost of needing you to react even faster until the wetness goes all the way back down. Yes, it does make the night stressful, but I think it's super cool and once again is my favorite mechanic in the entire game. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comments below. There are actually no post-night minigames in Friedrichs, which honestly feels weird to say since I usually spend a pretty decent amount of time in each video talking about them. But since there aren't any, I'm safe to move on to Night 2. God, this game just makes my days so much better. Night 2 introduces 2 new threats. Let's talk about the character you'll recognize more first. Foxy, or as this game calls him, Felix der whatever the fuck, I'm not gonna try to say that. Surprisingly, Felix wasn't given a Foxy-like mechanic. Instead, he almost does the opposite. Kind of. Where in FNAF 1, the more you watch Foxy, the less he moves. Felix is the opposite. The more you watch him, the more he moves. And in much the same way as Foxy. And by that, I mean you don't really have to be looking at him, but rather just have the cameras up. You see, Felix might just be a little bit of an autistic fellow. He really likes this spinning casino wheel, so much so that he will get very upset when it's not spinning. Depending on the difficulty setting, you will have a predetermined number of times that you can flip up the camera before the casino wheel stops spinning. And when it does stop spinning, Felix will haul ass to your office to politely ask you to spin it for him again. He's checking up. He's like, please, turn the wheel back on. I like it when the wheel is on. When he's in your office, he'll block the laser button, preventing you from keeping Bonnie or another character we'll mention later out. To spin the wheel, all you have to do is go back over to the camera and push the spin wheel button, where he will then sprint back out of your office to continue watching it spin. Felix and his mechanics remind me in a way of Clara, a general timer that counts down to an event that will make your run more difficult, and its fix is to just click a button on the camera. Now, you might think that because of that, I'd call this a lazy design, and while technically yes, it is pretty much the same recycled mechanic, I actually think that it makes the gameplay loop more enjoyable. Why? Well, Five Nights at Frederick's gets you into what I like to call a flow state while you are playing. Every single mechanic in this game works together to make the entire experience feel satisfying to play. Most mechanics in this game are reaction-based, which is something I like to think I'm pretty good at. This leads to a very smooth feeling gameplay loop where yes, it is challenging, however you almost always feel in control and every single interaction feels solid and responsive. The other threat this night adds is the endoskeleton in the back room, or as this game calls it, Endoskelet. Endoskelet behaves exactly how Bernard does with a small twist. He too will attack either of your two doors, but instead of blocking the button like Bernard, Endo will butt bang your power usage and force it to stay completely full until you inevitably die. I personally think that Endo has the weakest mechanic out of this entire game. However, one thing I do appreciate about him is that at least he has the decency to make a sound cue when he arrives at your door, unlike fuck-ass Bernard. Now, you might think this game seems way too easy. You never have to check the cameras until you either A, hear a very distinct sound cue letting you know to bake a pizza, or B, if Felix runs into your office, and usually, I'd agree. Up until this moment, the game is overall pretty easy, but we have yet to introduce a character that will force us to use the cameras and probably make your butthole pucker more than just a few times. So let's move on to Night 3. Night 3 introduces the main attraction himself, Freddy. Or of course, as you already know, this game calls Frederick Fazbear. Frederick is bolted to the stage. So that may lead you to ask the question, how is he even a fucking threat if he can't leave the stage? Well, you see, there's actually a pretty interesting plot twist here, and that's that the game fucking lied. Frederick is bolted to the stage, however, that doesn't prevent him from moving at all. He'll jump up to the vent on the ceiling and start pulling his way through towards your office. You'll be able to see him go through 3 distinct phases on the cameras. Once he reaches stage 3, you must use the lasers to shock him, which will then cause him to go back to the stage where he will promptly try again. What this mechanic does so well for the game is force you to look at the cameras, giving Frederick synergy with Felix. Now, I have to be transparent here. There is a sound cue that plays whenever Frederick enters a new phase in the camera. However, it's pretty damn quiet, and with how frequently characters will be screaming from being shocked, music playing loud as fuck in your ear, as well as a multitude of other things, it will probably be very common for you to just not hear these sound cues because of how faint they naturally are. Now, of course, if you have God hearing, then checking the cameras is literally only necessary when a pizza needs to be baked, Felix needs the wheel spun, or Frederick needs a good shock. But I honestly feel like this mechanic really ties the whole gameplay loop together. So, what could the game possibly do to spice the gameplay up from here? Oh, for fuck's sake, the power went out. Oh, fuck you! Fuck you! Hold on. What the fuck? More specifically, just the lights. Yeah, that's right. The gimmick of Night 4 is that the only way you can see is through a flashlight that follows your mouse. The cameras will be dark as well, making it harder to see some of the characters. Let's just take a moment to talk about how fucking genius this mechanic is. The only other FNAF game that I can think of that does this is Showman's, and it was brilliant there as well. Without literally changing anything about the game, you've just made it much more challenging, especially when it comes to Bernard. Oh my god, Bernard. Bernard is the sole reason this night is even remotely difficult. If you remember from earlier, Bernard doesn't make a sound cue when he's at your door. He's also one of the characters that doesn't have glowing eyes. So this brings up the question, how are you supposed to be able to tell he's at the door if you can't see him? I want you to take a good long look at this image right here. Do you see it? Yeah, that's Bernard's hand. That's all you get to be able to tell if he's there. Obviously, looking at it now, it seems so clear. How could you even miss that? But let me tell you, when you're in a game, focusing on managing all the characters at once, this little detail could very easily end a lot of your runs. And that was totally the intention. And I think that's really cool. Again, making the game harder without drastically changing anything. It's awesome. But if you manage to complete night 4, an unknown figure will appear in front of you and roar, flinging you to the back of the office where you'll fall into a springlock suit and fucking die. What the fuck? Yeah, I'm not kidding. That's what happens. And this leads perfectly into night 5. Night 5 has you awaken, finding out you're not dead inside the suit. Getting back up, you notice the figure that caused your death was Golden Friedrich, the final boss of this game. Using your new powers from the suit, you fucking punch him in the face and he runs away like a bitch. Get ready, guys. Let's talk about the most frustrating character Five Nights at Frederick's has to offer, Golden Friedrich. Night 5 is easily my favorite night in the entire game. This is the night that really shows off the flow state you can get into while playing this game, and I'll explain why as we go. To start, let's go over how Golden Friedrich works. Golden Friedrich has 4 means of attacking you. The first attack has him go to either of your doors like Bernard. A noticeable sound cue will play, that being him laughing, which by the way you should get used to because he's going to be doing that a lot throughout this night. Deal with him by using the lasers how you'd expect. The next mechanic has him dive into the vent like Friedrich. Deal with him the same way you would Friedrich, just by using the laser. Now we can talk about the other 2 attack methods that aren't seen anywhere else in the game. The first has him appear in your office. When he does, simply fucking punch him in the face. As you can tell by the look on his face after doing so, he is so incredibly shocked that you would even have the balls to attempt something like that. So insane, so he will quickly leave. The final attack, the most soul-sucking, fuck-ass, bitch-ass mechanic. I want you guys to take a guess what he could possibly do. That's right! My least favorite fucking FNAF mechanic ever designed! Teleporting to a random camera and having to search for which one he fucking went to and stare at him until he goes away. Friedrichs, you were doing so well. Why'd you have to do this to me? Why'd you have to bend me over and just fuck me right up the ass? Why? Why add this mechanic and blow up my internal organs like the goddamn 4th of July? I'm basically holding your fucking prison wallet. Go find him on the cameras. How about you go find my nuts? But hey, at least the rest of the night is pretty cool. Unlike most boss fight nights from FNAF games, this night doesn't make the boss the only threat throughout. However, this night will slowly reintroduce the characters you've been going up against as the night progresses every hour. 1 a.m., Bernard and Endoskelet reappear. Night 2, Chica and Felix reappear. 3 a.m., Freddy appears. And finally at 4 a.m., your lights go out once more. And at 5 a.m., the building starts on fire, forcing you to use the sprinklers. And from there, it's just a crazy survival game until the final 6 a.m. This night is honestly some of the most fun I've had with a FNAF game. Slowly reintroducing each mechanic throughout the night just made the whole experience slowly feel like it was getting harder and harder, which, to be fair, it was. 100% go try this game out. You will not regret it. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that throughout this night, you've been able to see this memory wipe meter slowly fill up. Well, at the end of the night, it completes, and the character we've been playing as so far seemingly finally dies. Golden Friedrich laughs at the corpse, and that's when we're shot back to the menu to see that there is a night 6. But if we're dead, how is that even going to work? Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to the second main character of this game, Ella Vanilla. Ella is who we play as on night 6. She discovers a job flyer in the local newspaper and decides that it'd be a great idea to become the new night guard at Friedrich's. Entering the office for the final night, we're greeted to, oh my fucking god, there's Alan right there. That's right. On top of everything we've seen so far, our previous protagonist becomes an antagonist on this night, and he's pretty damn aggressive as well. Now being called Fritterfalle, he acts as an additional threat to make night 6 a pain in the dick. His mechanic is simple, basically being a music box, something I wasn't super thrilled about when I first saw it, but overall ends up not really feeling like one, even though that's literally all it is. Throughout this night, Fritterfalle will attempt to get up and murk your ass. In order to sedate him, all you have to do is hold his nose. According to the lore, the owners of this restaurant actually tell the technicians to do this to Fritter because they know how much of a threat he is. Yet for some reason, they refuse to throw his ass out. But with that, that's all the main game of Five Nights at Friedrich's has to offer. Let's fucking go! Woo! Woo! 217. Ella Vanilla. Fuck yeah, we got SpongeBob over there. Is that Gustavo Fring up here? But, as I'm sure you can tell by looking at the timeline of this video, I still have more I want to talk about. That being the story, and my favorite thing about any game ever, post-game. Let's start with the story. You may think that this game doesn't really have anything else besides what we've already covered with Alan and Ella, but there actually is a little bit more to dissect. I want to first thank commenters such as Lex Gauntly and Redman. If it weren't for comments like these on my Tales of the Bunnyman video, I probably wouldn't feel as confident talking about the story, as it is something I don't like doing because I don't feel like I can do it as much justice as it deserves. I also really want to thank City, the owner of the FNAF game wiki, for reaching out to me on Discord to tell me about certain things and clarify any questions I have when researching these videos. Let's start by getting something out of the way. Friedrich's Pizza is not a chain restaurant like Freddy Fazbear's, instead just being a standalone restaurant. The animatronics used to be kept in a location known only as F-NJ02. What the hell does that mean? I have no fucking idea. But at some point, these characters were transferred to another location known as F-PA09, which is the restaurant we see in the game. Throughout the game, you learn how to deal with the threats through the pages of the service manual on your desk. Turning over these pages will slowly tell a very disturbing story. They reveal that each animatronic were noted to have unknown human remains making up a majority of their body. Friedrich has human teeth and eyes, Clara has human arms, Bernard is literally just an amalgamation of human mush, Felix has human eyes, and Endo has human veins and teeth. On Flinguary, yes, by the way, the months are named differently in this game, 29th, 2009, Alan Fritter takes the job at Friedrich's after standing outside the building and slapping the window until he was hired. The reason he wanted the job? I have no fucking idea, and it's not clear in the game either, so just accept it. However, it is clear that the animatronics remember him from past events and are intent on killing him. Throughout the night, you are supposed to be taught the mechanics through the manual on your desk. However, the pages of said manual have been ripped out, crumpled, and scribbled on by presumably previous employees. These scribbles are mocking the animatronics, which I get the funny feeling pisses them off a little bit, and it's confirmed that the characters enjoy killing the guards at the establishment. It's confirmed that Clara made her first successful pizza using Alan's body parts. Bernard used his arms as a back scratcher. Friedrich used his fucking veins as dental floss, which is insane, and Endoskelet used his remains as a suit. As far as I could tell, Felix is the only one who didn't do something fucked with the corpse. Obviously, at the end of the week, Alan gets that Soulja Boy cranked on him by Golden Friedrich and is stuffed inside a spare suit. His memory is wiped, and instead of disposing of the corpse in their restaurant, the owners instead instructed the technicians to use him for testing. Okay, maybe I'm too level-headed, but this seems like a very stupid idea that would get OSHA on your ass in about 4 seconds flat. Of course, Ella Vanilla later takes his position and we play as her in Night 6. it's clear that Alan still somewhat has a presence inside of the suit. Obviously because he can attack you while playing as Ella, but also because through the extras menu, we learn that he responds to Ella's comments through the collectibles menu, and at one point even entrusts her with holding an unstated item appearing as some weird looking snapped object. But really, after this, the story is either unclear or not canon. So as far as I'm aware, that's everything, and Five Nights at Frederick's truly comes to a close. Overall, I think Five Nights at Frederick's is one of the most fun FNAF experiences I've ever had. The game is goofy, the story is simple and silly, and the game mechanics are some of the most solid and fun to play I've ever seen. The amount of post-game in the extras menu is also more than I've seen in many other FNAF games, and I definitely recommend you give it a try. But let me know what you think. Do you agree with me, or do you think Frederick's isn't that great at all? When I'm looking for FNAF games to cover, I usually look for a few baseline things, a few bare minimums. However, I do also look for games that have a bit of a goofy aspect to them. For example, the fact that Five Nights to Remember literally has Gooner bait built into it. I think stuff like that is pretty funny, so it's definitely something I look for when determining which games are going to get a Dexter White video. The game I've played recently started fairly normal with a gameplay loop I enjoyed. However, near the end, something happened that was so completely out of left field, I was at a loss for words. What the fuck am I looking at? What the fuck? I'm very excited to talk about this game as I had a very fun time playing. So sit back and enjoy the ride as we dive nuts first into animatronic memories. Animatronic Memories starts as many official FNAF games do, that being showing a newspaper clipping asking for a security guard to monitor the building at night. Excited, jumping for joy, and kicking our feet and shit, we accept the offer and start our first night on the job. Entering our new office, we look around and notice that this place is clearly not very normal. Able to look in 3 directions, directly in front of us we have our computer, which lets us view our cameras. To our right we see the door to our office, and to the left we have a large window. Something I've never really understood about some buildings is why they have windows to other rooms in the building. I'm no architect, but that just doesn't really make sense. I don't know what possible purpose it could realistically serve. Also, this one has a fucking door on it. Fantastic. This game doesn't use a power system. Side note, I am so glad more FNAF games are choosing to move away from the power mechanic. I personally never found it very enjoyable, so I appreciate that many games are choosing to remove it so that your strategy can focus more on nerve control and skill rather than balancing a number. In a game where my only 3 actions are checking lights, closing doors, and watching cameras, boy do I sure love it when a central gameplay mechanic is limiting how much of those actions I'm allowed to do. It's so much fun. But anyways, since this game doesn't use power and there are 2 doors, I was curious how this game would pull that off. Let's begin with the window door. This one is very easy. If you're not holding the door down manually, it will automatically rise. Simple. Now let's turn our attention to the much more interesting door, the one that's actually a door. This door, you'll notice, has 3 fuses that connect to it. Just like Five Nights at Candy's, the longer you have a door closed, the higher the meter beneath it will rise. But unlike Candy's, this game actually used the mechanic in a much better way. If your meter is to increase fully, one of your fuses will break and the meter will reset. If you lose all 3 fuses, you will no longer be able to close the door, and the animatronics will very quickly close the gap on you and very quickly close your mouth so you don't make too much noise when they're obliterating your guts like iDubbbz obliterates his reputation. And that's really all you need to know to be able to play this game. All the mechanics are incredibly simple, which I think a lot of people could agree with me when I say that's a breath of fresh air, especially when it seems like every new FNAF release is just trying their best to get on the max mode list. But anyways, on to the threats that this night introduces, that being Bonnie and Chica. Let's pause for a moment. I want to really take the time to appreciate these character designs. Not only are they creepy, not only are they gorgeous, but they're also extremely uncanny. Looking at these characters just makes me uncomfortable in a very unique way. Especially Chica, like fucking ew. Anyways, let's start with Bonnie. Bonnie does exactly what you'd expect him to. He starts on the show stage, randomly walks around the cameras, and eventually lands at your door. Which again, with the way these characters look, it's just really fucking uncomfortable looking, which I love. All you need to do is close the door and you're a-okay. He'll pound on the door and you can reopen it. Chica is much the same, except she's fatter. Since these two are really just here to teach you the basics, beating the night is very easy. But before we can move on to night 2, we get the pleasure of talking about the very neat post-night minigames. After each night, we get to play a repairing minigame. I will say, technically speaking, these aren't really games at all, more just a holding down the mouse simulator, but I love little extra things like this. I would have enjoyed them in a game like Jolly as well, but unfortunately for that game, especially Jolly 3 Chapter 1, the minigames there take so fucking long, I'd rather rip out my own catheter than ever play them. However, in this game, they're short, sweet, and pretty fun for what they are. We're always tasked with replacing a piece of whatever animatronic is given to us. On night 1, that's Bonnie. The challenge of these nights, if you can even call it a challenge, come in the form of the character behind us, a ratchet-ass looking female balloon boy who probably has a clussy. What the fuck? Holy fuck! Throughout the minigame, you will hear her making noises behind you, slowly inching closer and closer. When she gets too close, you'll have to quickly whip around and fucking tase her, which I think is just awesome. Afterwards, she'll back up off you and the cycle continues. Overall, not too difficult, but something extra that I think adds some spice to the game. Something you'll notice about the night sections is that they feel a lot shorter than most FNAF games, and that's because they are. But where the game lacks in length of night segments, it totally makes up for in the form of its 8-bit minigames. Usually, I fucking hate these, but I actually don't mind the minigames found here. Let's go over the post-night 1 8-bit minigame. The purpose of these minigames is exactly what you'd think, that being introducing lore and of course sliding in some secrets that allow for a different ending. This game only has 2 of those, thankfully, so I'll be going over the process of getting the true ending right now because no shit. In the first minigame, you play as Freddy. It seems that throughout these minigames, all the characters are preparing for a party. In each minigame, whichever character you play as will have a different task to complete. Freddy's task is being a fat lazy fuck and just talking to the other characters. Wow, Freddy, you're really taking pages out of your toy counterpart's book, huh? Fat lazy piece of shit. Yeah, watch all your coworkers do the work and still take the credit at the end, dick. Anyways, completing the task is obviously not what's important in these minigames, as if you are to complete the tasks, the minigame will end and you won't be able to collect the secret item you need for the true ending. What you should really focus on doing is finding a glitched sprite somewhere around the building. Very similar to going into the glitched areas in FNAF World. For Freddy, the wall will be glitched between 2 tables at the bottom of the map. Touching this glitched area will bring you back to some black space Amori type shit. In this black space, all you have to do is find a Freddy plushie and bring it to one of the crying children. After doing so, you'll be met with a black and white animatic, in which you're in the POV of a kid entering a Fazbear location before getting lured into the back room by a man in a bunny costume. Fuck that molester, bro! Get him out! No, get that fucker out of here, bro. Oh my god. What the fuck? What the fuck? Oh great, I think we all know where this is going. Moving on to night 2, which introduces one new threat. That being Freddy himself, the hulking, titanous, gargantuan-ass bear. He attacks the door exactly like Bonnie and Chica, except he does something even more cancerous. He will also attack your door, except he moves through cameras a lot faster than Bonnie and Chica do, and once he reaches your door, he'll enter a lot faster than them as well. Instead of jump scaring you, he does like Phone Guy says and gets a little bit quirky, choosing to reach his hand into your fuse box and immediately break all of them, then jump scare you. Now, as cool as that is, I do have to ask the question, if he kills you after doing this, then why doesn't he just kill you? Don't get me wrong, I love little details like this and I'm not necessarily complaining, but it's a genuine question. I'm assuming the dev just didn't want to have 3 characters appear to do the exact same thing, even though, to be fair, Bonnie, Chica, and Freddy all end up doing the exact same thing, just at various speeds. This is something that could be attributed to laziness, but you have to answer whether you think it is for yourself, and I'll be talking about it a little bit later. Post Night 2 repair needs you to fix up Chica and her cupcake.
Ew! Ew! Bro, this bitch is disgusting, dude.
Again, this is much the same as the last one. Tootsie, which, yes, by the way, is that clown's name, is more aggressive, but it's still pretty easy to deal with. However, the Post Night 2 minigame is different, and that makes me excited, because, would you believe me if I said this, I will actually enjoy talking about the lore in this game. I know, crazy. Turns out, when I'm told a story where I don't have to spend a billion fucking hours searching for answers, that actually makes it fun. Anyways, in this minigame you play as Bonnie, and the goal of the minigame is to do some sweeping, aka manual labor, something Toy Freddy would avoid at all costs because he's unemployed. But fuck actually doing the task at hand, that's for retards. Instead, we're going to warp the fabric of space and time by touching a busted up table and be teleported directly to hell. Doesn't that sound way better than doing the everyday tasks of a customer service job? Awesome. Well, once you enter black space, all you need to do is find a Bonnie plush and once again give it to one of the crying children. Once again, afterwards we get a cutscene where we're in the POV of a child, this time being bullied by some fat ass children. Have you guys ever realized that like every bully that's ever existed is about the size of a Ford F-150? Whatever. We get saved by the man in the bunny suit and then immediately get betrayed and murdered. That's right, kids. Not only can you not trust your peers, you can't trust adults either. I guess we should all just give up. Night 3 time. What's the new threat introduced here? And will it have a different mechanic than everything else we've seen so far? This night introduces a fan-made character, something I don't often see when fan games use the official characters. This character's name is Anne, a female Foxy equivalent. Give me Rule 34. What? Who said that? Anyways, she begins on the Pirate's Cove camera next to Foxy. She will, just like Foxy from Five Nights at Freddy's 1, move through phases on the camera until she's ready to attack. When she does, you'll be able to see her run off of the Pirate's Cove camera, wherein she will then book it to your window. When she arrives, you will have to quickly close it until you hear her leave. So, hey, something new, kind of, not really, it's just another door, but I guess that's better than nothing. Oh, did I mention Foxy also activates on this night? Well, he does. Wanna know what he does? Disappointingly, it's the exact same thing Anne does, just a lot slower. Isn't that weird? The fast-running Five Nights at Freddy's character is now slow. Like, I know he has a peg leg, so that's obviously making him move slowly, but like, goddamn, why'd you have to butcher my boy like that? He did not deserve it. But yes, as I've said, Foxy does the exact same thing Anne does. I will say that because they move at different speeds, there are some very rare instances where it can lead to some stress while watching their timings, but the odds of this happening are pretty slim, so you probably will never even experience it. That's honestly my biggest problem with this game. It looks amazing, I'm interested in the story, the sound design is fantastic, and you even managed to make me enjoy the 8-bit minigames. But this game has introduced 5 characters so far, and yet somehow, with 5 characters, there's only 2 mechanics to deal with all of them, and both of those mechanics are closing a door and waiting a few seconds. I've tried my best to think about how I can view this positively, but I really just can't. Sure, I personally like it when FNAF games aren't too hard and I can beat them without too much strain, but I can easily see how this game's mechanics could be a turn-off for some people. There's just not enough happening to keep a lot of people interested. We have one character to talk about who switches up the mechanics a little bit, but I still don't even think that's enough, especially given the time this game was released, that being February of 2025. You might question my complaining of this. Dexter, the original Five Nights at Freddy's, only had 1 mechanic, 2 if you're being generous and calling Foxy a different mechanic. And to that statement, I'd agree. However, there are 2 points that I have to give to that argument. Yes, FNAF 1 only had 2 mechanics, closing the door and stalling Foxy, However, the first thing you need to acknowledge is that Five Nights at Freddy's 1 was released in 2014 and was a pioneer of an entire genre. It has been 11 years since that game's release. I think it's reasonable to expect newer games in the same genre to have evolved, and for the most part, they totally have. Look at The Joy of Creation, Tycoon Sons Lumber Co., Showman's Awakening. All of these games have added so much to the central idea that is Five Nights at Freddy's. This game just doesn't do that. On top of that, let's dive a little bit deeper into Five Nights at Freddy's 1 for a moment. While yes, the only real mechanic in that game is closing the doors for defense, we need to talk about the synergy between Freddy and Foxy. Foxy requires you to look at your cameras to stall him. If you don't, while yes, you can close the door to keep him out, with every pound your door will lose power dramatically, which incentivizes you to look at him. It seems Scott saw a potential bore in this design, so he made Freddy work the same as the others, but with a twist to synergize. Freddy can't enter your office while your cameras are down, and he's the only animatronic that will never move backwards, meaning that once he's at your door, he will stay there. He's also the only door animatronic that will not break your buttons, so you don't have to close the door while you're in your office. However, on the contrary, he doesn't work the same way the other two door animatronics do. You can't see him when the light is on, and at the same time, Chica can be at your door while Freddy is also at it because of this. Because of this mechanic, it's very likely that Freddy will be at your door for most of the night, especially on nights 5 and 6. Since the game forces you to check your cameras to stall Foxy, this leads to you needing to close your door before you check the cameras to not have Freddy enter. This is a good synergy between two characters and is why I wouldn't complain about this in that game. In Animatronic Memories, however, there is no difference between characters that attack the same way like this. Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica all do the exact same thing. Anne and Foxy also both do the exact same thing. Sure, Freddy may break your fuses first, but that doesn't change the fact that he's still doing the exact same thing. Just going to your door and killing you. He just happens to have an animation before that happens. Now, is this a bad thing? I think that's more up to a case-by-case basis. While yes, I do feel that it's boring, I still had plenty of fun playing this game and I would still recommend it to people. I just think it's obviously important to point out flaws like this when analyzing a game. Sorry about that tangent. Moving on to the repair minigame. In this one, we're asked with fixing up Freddy, who has some insane crow's feet. Like, holy shit, this guy's old as fuck. But this doesn't change anything from the last two, so let's move on to the 8-bit minigame. In this minigame, we play as Chica, tasked with collecting ingredients for a cake. Shut the fuck up! I don't care about your bitch-ass task! Let's go to hell! Oh, but before we do that, I should mention that there's an endoskeleton that starts spawning, and if you touch it, you die. So, like, don't do that. Anyways, once we're back in black space, you once again have to get a plushie. This time, doing so is a bit different. You'll see several eyes on the floor. Interacting with them will cause them to close. Once you close all of them, the plushie will spawn and you can give it to the child. After doing so, we're shown another cutscene, this time in the POV of a child who wants a prize from the prize counter. The man in the bunny suit gives us a Chica plush before inviting us to the back room. Once inside, he stabs us, and the last thing we see is our Chica plushie on the floor as we bleed out. So that's sad. Dude, that's fucking cool as shit, bro. That's cool. No, not her, please. Please don't ruin your game. Please don't do it, please. Please, I'm begging you, don't ruin your game. Don't add a music box. Please, 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 for the love of God, don't do it. Anyways, night 4 time. This introduces Harley. What? Who the fuck is Harley? Well, the marionette, of course, duh. The marionette thankfully doesn't work in the way you think she does. No music box to wind because the developer of this game isn't Satan. The marionette has 2 different ways of attacking you, something I think is awesome. I think it's super cool when characters can do more than one thing, and I think it's something I'd like to see more often. Her first attack consists of her attempting to shut down the cameras. When she leaves her box, the camera has a chance to glitch. If it does, you have to quickly find her on one of the cameras and press a newly appearing sound disruption button to make her fuck off. The other option of attack is through your vent. I didn't even tell you guys that we had a vent because it's really never really important. Instead of glitching the cameras, when Harley leaves, she can make a bell noise as well. When you hear that, you will need to quickly check the kitchen camera and shock her ass, because once she enters it, you're gonna be completely done for, as there's no way to stop her once she enters. Oh hey, something new! Fortunately, sound cues were added so she's not completely AIDS, but if you can beat her, which shouldn't be too difficult, we move on to the repair section where we have to fix Foxy, who, holy shit, has seen better days. God damn, what'd they do to you? First a peg leg and now they filleted you? What the fuck? But after that, we can move on to the 8-bit minigame. Hooray! In it, we play as Anne. Who gives a fuck what the task is? Let's go to the black space using another table. Hooray! This black space section is confusing. So confusing, I actually don't even know how I completed it. Basically, as you walk through black space, you'll see several character symbols on the ground. Then, at the end, you can find several symbols that you can change into a sort of code. You might think, oh hey, just input them in the order you saw them. That's what I thought too. But, at least when I was playing, that was seemingly impossible. Then, I noticed that a few of the squares had a symbol that no other square had. So I tried to see if each square had a unique symbol, but they didn't. Then I noticed there was this dark rabbit symbol that didn't appear anywhere else in black space. So I tried to input that into each square, but that also didn't work because not every square had one. I'm so serious, I have no idea what the intended puzzle is here. I ended up just randomly guessing it, and eventually I got it. I guess set that to Foxy. Set this to Bonnie. Set this to Chica. I literally do not know what I did. I promise you, I literally do not know what I did, but I did it. If you guys have any idea what the intended solution to this puzzle is, please let me know in the comments. But once you get the plush and give it to the child, we take another look at another cutscene. This time, the man just ganks some random ass kid who was just standing there minding their own business and murders them. No motive. Jesus Christ. I'm not going to bother talking about Night 5 since it's just a harder version of Night 4. Additionally, there's no repair section after this night, only being one final 8-bit minigame. In this one, we play as Foxy. Going into black space, we can place all the plushies we've collected on podiums, which will give us the Foxy plush. Placing it on the final podium will spawn one final child and the minigame will end. Being tossed into one final cutscene, we see another kid get shanked to death. Amazing and deserved. Shouldn't have been a child, dumbass. But what about Night 6? Well, of course, as usual, we were told not to come back tonight, but we said fuck it, we ball, and decided to come back anyways. Nobody was present. We enter the office, but get a strange feeling that we're being watched. Night 6 is just a harder version of Night 5, but however, if you got the bad ending by not collecting the plushies in the black space and the 8-bit minigames, this night will be completely different, but we'll cover that later. After completing the night, a literal masterpiece of a cutscene plays out. Seriously, I can't undermine how amazing this cutscene really is. It starts with us standing in front of the arcade machine. Our suspicions are confirmed when Afton comes up behind us and fucks our shit up, knocking us out. Soon after, the arcade game glitches as fuck, and all of the animatronics walk into the back room. And let me tell you, they're itching to serve up a knuckle sandwich. Jesus Christ, cut that out, that's corny as fuck. Afton pulls out a shocking device to fuck with the robots, which shuts them down. Thinking he's won, Afton lets his guard down. That's when the spirits of the children attack him. They loosen a pipe on the wall and break it off. They shove Afton onto it, and as the pipe impales his chest, his lungs fill with blood. He slowly dies, staring at the ones whose lives he so easily took. We wake up to see the souls disappearing, finally able to rest. We leave the building, and animatronic memories comes to a close. That is, if you chose to do the true ending. And even though that final cutscene is actually a cinematic masterpiece, I actually think the bad ending is more enjoyable. Why? Well, if you don't collect the plushies, when you re-enter the building on the overtime night, instead of entering the office, we go into an unknown room with several bags laid on the floor. Opening them up, we find the actual fucking remains of the children. What the fuck? This game is so cool. Caught off guard, Afton kills us. However, before we can pass on, a shadow rabbit pulls us into the darkness and we enter another fucking dimension. What the fuck am I looking at? What the fuck? That's right, the overtime night in this game is different depending on which ending you get, and goddamn, that is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. You'll notice that this office is set up in the same way as the normal office, having 3 directions to look in, one your desk, another your door, and the final being your window. Let's go over each threat because there's a few of them. Starting with the shadow rabbit, you'll have to constantly watch your cameras in case he appears on one of them. When he does, you have to press the big goofy ass red button on your desk to make him disappear. And that's really it for him. And that's actually the only reason you ever have to check the cameras. So, how do the other characters add anything of substance? I'm glad you asked. I'm gonna tell you because it's a fucking review, dumbass. You'll also notice on your desk you have 2 masks. Now, if you're anything like me, seeing these 2 things scare you a little, but I promise, the mechanic with these 2 isn't ass at all. Occasionally, you'll see either a fucked up baby clown face or a Ballora looking face appear on your static monitors. Whichever face you see is the mask you will have to put on until the face goes away. Bada bing, bada boom, that's another threat down. Now, the main threats we're being attacked by in the bad ending are the souls of the children, because by not collecting the plushies, we've basically been neglecting them. At your door is where Bonnie attacks. The door starts closed and is closed most of the night, with you actually not even being able to open it. Occasionally, Bonnie will attempt to force it open, and flashing your light at him will cause the door to close. Leave it open for too long, and I bet you can guess what'll happen. Moving back to your desk is where Chica will attack. Chica herself doesn't kill you, but she can be a pain in the ass if you're not ready for her. Right before the hour is about to turn, she'll reach onto your desk to pause your clock. Click her and she'll leave. But you have to be fast. If she manages to pause your clock, you'll have to complete that hour again, making the overall night last longer. This is honestly a mechanic I think is pretty damn interesting. While yes, it's annoying if you don't catch her, the way to beat her is easy enough that it isn't bullshit to deal with. Easy mechanic with a horrific consequence. I love it. Moving to your window is where Foxy and Ann are. Sadly, once again, both do the exact same thing. Occasionally, they'll pound on your window, which is now boarded up by metal bars. All you have to do is hold your flashlight on them and they'll eventually leave. Very basic. Once again, literally identical to Bonnie, just in a different location. Shine your flashlight, they leave. The final threat is Freddy, who, once again, like Chica, can't kill you by himself, but is a big annoyance. Occasionally, he'll jump in front of your face and block your view. You'll have to spam the spacebar to pull him off you and dropkick him through a chain link fence. But after that, those are all the threats. If you can manage to hold off long enough, you'll enter one last cutscene, albeit not as grandiose as the true endings. You manage to escape the grasp of the souls. As you attempt to pass on, you look back and see the souls desperately trying to pull you back into the darkness. Escaping the souls, leaving them behind to suffer forever. You move on to the afterlife and finally fucking die. So yeah, very stark contrast between the 2 endings. I actually felt like there was a major difference, unlike in most FNAF games, which I can definitely appreciate. But with that, as far as I'm aware, that's all Animatronic Memories has to offer. Overall, I think Animatronic Memories is an enjoyable experience. I only got one ending in my playthrough, and I probably wouldn't want to get the other. Not because I don't want to see it, but because of how lackluster the gameplay loop is. With there really only being 2 mechanics, closing doors and shocking the puppet, I don't want to discourage anyone from giving this game a try. It's fun to play, it's an engaging story that's easy to follow, and that is something I can definitely appreciate. But what do you think? Do you agree with me, or do you think that this game is actually perfect in every way? Bad fan games. Love them or hate them, you have to admit they can be pretty funny at times. Maybe you like them because of the bad grammar, bad art, bad storytelling, bad voice acting, or just overall bad design. Well, if you're interested in that, rest assured the fan game we'll be covering today has a bit of all of those components, and I'm excited to share them with you. The game in question is Mario and Animatronic Horror. Made by 2 devs, it serves to be one of the most atrocious fan games ever designed, but it is, in all honesty, one of my favorites. I should note that this game is technically not possible to obtain legitimately and can only be found through websites like the Wayback Machine. This is because Nintendo is the most greedy, grubby company to ever cross this plane of existence. They DMCA'd this game for copyright infringement because it used their characters. So keep in mind, that means that what we're going to see is legally canonical. So enjoy that information as we go along. With that being said, let's jump into Mario and animatronic horror. If you're at all familiar with RPG Maker horror games, then a game called Mario the Music Box might ring a few bells to you. Another RPG Maker horror game that uses Mario that is actually pretty good. Let me know if you'd like me to cover it sometime in the future. Mario and animatronic horror was actually directly inspired by Mario the Music Box, and it definitely shows. However, as I already mentioned, Mario the Music Box is good, and this game, well... Starting the game, we're met to an anime opening for the game. This is where we first notice that the 3D animations in this game are actually surprisingly pretty solid, and are definitely the best parts of these games. But that's immediately downplayed when you use your ears and notice that the opening music is Panic at the Disco, which they also decided to name incorrectly in the credits, saying Panic on the Disco instead. Panic at the Disco? What is this anime opening? What am I watching? After that masterpiece of an opening finished, we're forced to remember that this is, in fact, a horror game, and we're greeted to an opening cutscene. Mario states that he has voices in his head, canonically revealing that Mario is a schizo. Because of these voices, he decides to get a job at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Why does he choose this? I have no fucking idea. And with that, we're tossed right into night one. Mario walks into the pizzeria and has an amazing reaction to the animatronics on stage.
Mamma mia, those things are terrifying.
I love the dialogue in this game. If you ever play it yourself, you'll notice that what the voice actors say and what you see in the text boxes on screen almost never match at all. But if you don't feel like playing the game yourself, I totally understand. You can watch my full playthrough on my second channel, Dexter Black. Mario heads back to the office and receives a phone call from Phone Guy. You may think these phone calls will be important, but you'd be completely wrong. These phone calls are basically just the calls from Five Nights at Freddy's 1, except for some reason they didn't want to use the actual audio from the game, so instead they opted to hire a voice actor to read it, and I guess they also didn't just copy and paste the script from the game, but appeared to try their best to rewrite what was said from memory. I'm not sure what the thought process was here.
Hello? Hello, and welcome to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Magical place where grown-ups alike, where fantasy and fun can come to life.
In this office is also where I found that this specific tile on the wall had no hitbox, so that's pretty cool. Okay. After the call, Mario is understandably scared from being told that animatronics would try to butt bang him and stuff him in a suit. We cut to a short cutscene from the animatronics who, lucky us, also speak. They talk about how familiar we look. Now, from hearing that, you'd probably think that this would be the same misunderstanding from the actual games, where they think we're William Afton because we're wearing the purple security guard suit. However, that wouldn't make sense because Mario is wearing his normal outfit, which the animatronics even acknowledge. So I have no idea where they got the crack they're snorting, but it was clearly laced. Freddy sends Bonnie to go get Mario from the office and give him a rim job. Mario decides to check the cameras and notices that Bonnie has left the stage. However, rather than using his head and checking the other cameras to see where he's at, Mario instead decides it would be a smarter idea if he went out of the office to go look for Bonnie himself. With that, Mario exits the office and begins exploring. Going near Pirate's Cove, Mario finds a key to the back room and sees a classic FNAF hallucination and sharts his pants. Back room key. Oh, what the fuck? With the back room key, he uses it to get into the back room. I don't really know what you expected to happen, but I guess it's a good thing I'm here to hold your hand and tell you these obvious things because you're too brainwashed. Here, maybe if I speak your language, you'll better understand me. Skibidi Riz Edge Mario goons on a guy at Goblin and gets rizzy with it. You understand me now? All right, let's keep moving. In the back room, Mario reads a newspaper clipping going over the missing children's case. It's not long, however, before Mario's ADHD kicks in and he gets bored and decides to leave. ADHD? More like ADHD's nuts, am I right?
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
All right. Anyways, When Mario goes to leave, he hears Bonnie approaching, and we get possibly the funniest line delivery I've ever heard in my life.
You can't hide from your buddy Bonnie. I'm gonna hug you till you burst.
Wasn't that the most amazing thing you've ever heard? Yeah, I bet it was. Mario figures it'd probably be a good idea to hide, and I would probably agree with him. This is where you get the first of many decisions. When you make a choice, you could get wrong, get your possible, and you could possible get killed. When you make a choice, the choice could wrong, and you could possible get killed. Where are you going to hide? You can choose either the closet, under the table, or hiding in the Freddy suit on the table. Now, you may be inclined to hide in the most retarded area on the planet, but I would encourage you to not do that. Hiding in the closet is the correct option, but I guess I'll humor you and I'll tell you what happens if you choose the other two options. Let's start with the suit. If you choose to hide in the suit, Bonnie actually won't find you and will leave, which might lead one to believe they made the right decision. But for those of you who are familiar with the FNAF lore, which I imagine is all of you, you'd know that getting into a suit is a pretty bad idea, because Mario ends up getting stuck and spring-locked inside. How'd you get in? Reverse engineer. And you're dead. So good job, buddy. I don't even know why getting inside the suit was an option, given how scared Mario was of getting stuffed inside one. Choosing to hide under the table instead, you would not be surprised to find that Bonnie literally immediately sees you. Because, no shit, that should have been obvious. This is when he grabs you and we get to see another surprisingly good 3D animation, where Bonnie hits us in the dome with his guitar as hard as he can.
I found you.
Oh, damn! Oh, we're dead as fuck, boy. We're dead as fuck. You might think these animations were just found somewhere and imported into the game, but no. As far as I can tell, these animations are actually original to this game, which is actually pretty damn cool. Of course, the closet is the correct choice, so Mario hides in there like a normal person would. Yeah, being gay is pretty safe. Bonnie begins walking around the back room, and even though we hear his footsteps, we're given the choice to peek out. Of course, Mario chooses not to do that because he isn't stupid, and Bonnie eventually does leave, and Mario re-emerges from the closet. As Mario exits the closet, a rusty crowbar appears out of nowhere on the floor and Mario takes it. Heading back to Pirate's Cove, he uses it to open up a crate.
Come on, you stupid crowbar!
Inside the crate, he finds the kitchen key. Now, I think we all know where the kitchen is in the first FNAF game location. This game thought it would be funny to actually not put the kitchen there and instead put it right next to Pirate's Cove. Once in the kitchen, Mario finds a family photo. This is where I should mention the lore of this game sort of follows the original FNAF games, but also says, fuck it, I'm gonna do what I want. This photo seems to show off the Afton family, and you already know Mario decides he needs to pocket that bitch. On the back of the picture is a handwritten note from William himself, naming a son called Nick and another called Kyle, spelled K-Y-E-L, which nobody has ever spelled that way. And no, this isn't just a typo. Kyle is spelled like this throughout the entire game. Boring lore garbage about Kyle enjoying scaring Nick, blah blah blah, bite of 83 bullshit, who cares, let's get to the interesting stuff. Finding nothing else, Mario heads back to the office to check the cameras and notices Foxy isn't in Pirate's Cove, moments later checking to see that Foxy is running down the halls. So, Mario does know how to check the other cameras, which means he really did just choose not to check the other cameras to find Bonnie earlier. Here we get a choice to either close the door or hide under the desk. Why the hell would you choose to hide under the desk? Well, it's to see a cool death animation. Oh shit! He slashed my shit up, bro. But obviously we close the door and keep that little bitch out. After almost dying a second time, Mario decides he should leave the office again and continue to look around. So maybe he is an idiot. We head back to Pirate's Cove and find that an arcade machine has randomly appeared. Since Mario is an actual god gamer, you already know he had to pour some hours into whatever game it is we're about to play. Is it Galaga? Pac-Man? Maybe some Donkey Kong Jr.? No, it's actually just a really shitty classic FNAF minigame. I should have figured. In this game, we play as the little baby bitch boy from Five Nights at Freddy's 4, except for some reason his name is Nick, which is just not correct. but whatever. Nick walks into his bedroom and gets absolutely reamed by his brother Kyle, which again, also not his name, but we're just gonna ignore that, I suppose. With the jump scare playing out, the game ends. Mario pretends to be sympathetic for a short moment before forgetting the kid ever existed and walks back to the office where the power then goes out. I could describe to you what happens next, but I think it'd be much funnier if I just let it play out.
Well, I guess that's all the rooms. But I never found the chicken.
Guess you're fucked. Oh shit. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Thank you, Mario. Ooh. Ooh.
Welcome, one and all. It's time to have some fun.
No.
Let's have a party for you, my friend. Hey, don't run away. We want to play with you every night. Hey, buddy, don't run away. It's time to play our happiest day. Now you are trapped in nowhere to hide. No other places you can hide. Hey, just sit back and relax.
What?
You will be nothing but a bloody corpse.
Oh.
And then you'll be in our tomb.
What? It's 6 a.m.
Wasn't that just amazing? You're telling me Beyonce won the Grammy for her shitty country album when this masterpiece existed? God, nobody has any culture anymore. With that, night 1 concludes and we cut straight to night 2 with Mario returning for some reason. Which, by the way, I still really don't know why he's here in the first place. Mario gets back to the office and listens to another useless phone call. We're told the camera doesn't have any batteries and that there are some spares in the kitchen for some reason. And since Mario can't sit in one place for more than 13 seconds, he has to get out of his office and explore what he's already explored. Heading to Pirate's Cove, Mario stumbles right into Chica. Chica threatens him with a good time by offering to put her entire beak into his rectum, but Mario rudely declines and runs into the kitchen to hide. Again, we're given a few options. Let's go over the stupid ones first. If you choose to hide in the oven like a moron, I'm willing to bet you can guess what happens. Hide in the oven? That's an atrocious idea, sure.
I know you're in here. I'm gonna find you.
She almost British? That'd make me hate her more.
I think she's gone.
I don't think she is.
Hey, why won't the door open? Come on! What's that smell?
You, bro, it's you.
Oh no, the oven is on!
Oh shit, you're cooked.
Ah!
That's right, you roast like a pig. Now, if we decide instead to put on our thinking caps like a big boy, we choose to hide under the sink, which is actually not thinking cap behavior now that I think about it, but whatever, because that is the correct option to choose in this case, and I actually don't know if you can even hide anywhere else in the kitchen. After Chica leaves, Mario finds a battery, so he heads back to the office to pop those puppies in the camera, only to find that he needs more. Great. We notice a key to the supply closet on the desk, so we go there to check for more batteries. Lo and behold, we actually find some there, but we also find Bonnie sniffing around for some booty. Upon being groped, Bonnie drops another fire bar.
I found you. Time for some fun.
I love this game so much. Anyways, we fight Bonnie off with some cleaning supplies and book it back to the office to lock Bonnie out. Once Bonnie gives up, Mario checks the cameras and notices an arcade machine inside of the curtains in Pirate's Cove. So, like a moron, he decides to go check it out. We get to the arcade machine and hop into the next Mona Lisa of a minigame. In this minigame, we play as Kyle after the events of the Bite of 83, where instead of taking him to the hospital, they just leave his sorry ass in his room to die. Kyle walks down to the basement feeling a lot of guilt, as he should. This is where William comes downstairs to yell and belittle him. Once again, as he should. But then William goes sicko mode and slits his throat, stuffing his son into the Foxy suit that for some reason they have in their basement. Upon finishing the minigame, Mario notices Foxy is right behind him and a chase ensues. Now, you might see this chest and blade off to the side of the cove, and you might think to use them to your advantage. That's what I thought. But after a few attempts trying to interact with them, I noticed that they're just fucking decorations. Also, for some reason, the Mario avatar art while interacting with these objects is way different from the usual PNGs. Anyways, we run back to the office and lock Foxy out. Once he leaves, we decide it would be a phenomenal idea to exit the office once more and continue to look around. Mario just never learns, does he? In the party room, we find a note on the floor that wasn't there before. The note seems to be from another one of William's sons, who I can only imagine is Michael. Michael's worried about his missing brother and is a little sussy about how weird his father is acting. Going back to the office, we lose power again and again. I can't just describe what happens next. You have to see it yourself. Oh, dick. Bro, we closed the door for like 20 collective seconds. Please don't sing again. Please, dear God, don't. Okay, we're good. This is some bullshit like I wasn't supposed to actually come back to the office. I'll cream my pants, bro.
Aw, man. He didn't finish his song.
I actually really liked it.
I was enjoying that. He should have been on American Idol.
What?
Thanks.
Oh shit. Bro, is he about to get touched? This just might be the best game ever designed. Wasting no time, we jump right into night 3. Phone guy tells us Freddy has been squirting, literally, which like, fucking ew. He tells us it's our job to go to the back room and clean him up, so we head to the back room to do just that. Upon entering, we see Freddy posted up on the table and we're given the option to remove his head, hand, or torso. Choosing to remove his torso, we unsurprisingly find a child's corpse inside. Mario runs to the bathroom like a bitch to vomit, and upon trying to leave, quickly runs back into the stall to hide from Chica, who had just entered. We choose to try and punch Chica, but unfortunately for us, Chica is made out of metal, so she just kills us instead of giving us a blumpkin. Oh, you're dead. Oh, ow, bro, I don't want to eat it. Back the fuck up. Back up, bro. Just shit out my eyes and shit, bro. Fuck off. What you actually have to do is just trip her and run away. Doing exactly that, we run back to the office only to find an arcade machine inside. Okay, let's play it. In this minigame, we play as William as he wrangles up the kids and brutally murders them. William manages to frame his son Michael, but I don't really care. Pretty typical FNAF stuff if I'm being honest. But come on, do we really care about this backstory? Of course not. You're watching this video to learn about the tomfoolery in this game, so let's get back to that. As Mario leaves the office in an attempt to explore again, the power goes out, and Mario asks the most based question of all time. Oh shit,
Are
you're
you
fucked.
serious? Is this power supply running on AA batteries?
Okay, that's a good line. I like that one. Mario decides he's just gonna leave because this is bullshit. However, while trying to leave, Golden Freddy appears right in front of him and night 3 comes to a close. Night 4 has us playing as Luigi, who goes to the pizzeria in search of Mario. As Luigi goes to the office, he finds William fucking around with some crate. After a bit of back and forth, William tells Luigi he's seen Mario around. He says he'll help Luigi find Mario, but that he has something he needs to do first. Giving Luigi the task of keeping the animatronics distracted, he walks off, telling Luigi not to look in his crate. So the very first thing Luigi does is look in the crate, because he's a little rebel and it is in fact not a phase. Inside is a note from Henry. It just says some stupid shit about not believing Michael is a killer. If you remember, William framed his son for the child murders, whatever, boring ass garbage. I want funny haha lines. Luigi goes to the back room and finds an arcade machine. You shouldn't be surprised by these things anymore. This minigame isn't even a game, it's just sitting there like a dunce while Henry talks to you. If you thought Henry's monologue from Pizzeria Simulator was good, you're not even ready for how top tier this monologue is. And you can listen to the whole thing in my playthrough on my second channel, Dexter Black. After completing this minigame, a Golden Freddy plush appears on the table of the back room and the power once again goes out and Luigi gets scared like a bitch. The plushie offers to help Luigi find his way around the building and to Mario. Luigi agrees and we play a sister location style game where the plushie tells us which directions to go in and when to stay still if there's an animatronic present. The only difference between sister location in this section, however, is that the plushie in this game talks about 400 times slower than Baby did.
What do I need to go to the kitchen for?
You will see. So first, go forward.
After wandering into the kitchen, Luigi meets the marionette. The marionette talks for about 8 hours straight and basically just says, "Murder bad, I murder murderers, Mario is near the bathroom, go get him. Oh, and also please free the children's souls." We do exactly that and find Mario in a dark room halfway inside of a suit. We solve a code puzzle that opens the suit, which actually makes no sense whatsoever, but whatever, let's just pretend like it does. The brothers walk out of the bathroom and catch Freddy making out with a toilet. No, I'm not joking. This is actually something that is in the game. I have no idea what's going on. I might be having a stroke. Anyways, the brothers go home, as they should. Before starting night 5, we're given the option to go back or not. We obviously choose not to, but psych fucker, that's the wrong option. Luigi's fucking dead. Oh yeah, and Mario's dead too. Watch Fredbear bite his fucking arm off like he's Pennywise and pull him into the fucking void and force him to stare at his brother's corpse until the end of time. Damn. That escalated quickly, didn't it? Yeah, let's just get back to the pizzeria instead and avoid all that. Upon arriving, the brothers hot-bottom to the office to make a game plan. Luigi tells Mario about the promise he made to the marionette, and Mario agrees to help. The brothers go to the kitchen and ask the marionette how they can save the kids' souls. The marionette tells them what they have to do is save each kid. Pretty basic concept. Tee, go find shit they like, Lamau. Fetch quest time! To save Chica, we have to go eat the pizza found in the party room and compliment how good it is. That makes the soul of Chica happy and she gives us a party box and a chest key. Using the chest key, we go to the bathroom and unlock a crate that has Bonnie's guitar inside. We take his guitar to him, saving his soul, and he gives us a party box and another chest key. I'm geeked out of my mind right now. Using the key Bonnie gave us, we unlock a crate in the bathrooms. That crate has a Freddy plush inside. We take the Freddy plush to Freddy in Pirate's Cove, saving his soul, and it gives us another party box. I'm straight up jorking it. Heading back to the kitchen, we see the marionette, Bonnie, Chica, and Freddy having a party. They thank us for the help, but then Foxy shows up. He wants to kill us, but everyone else tells him not to. Golden Freddy soon shows up, which by the way is the brother who got chomped on if it wasn't obvious, and he forgives his brother for killing him. Leaving the party, we get ready to leave the pizzeria, but as we step into the party room, we see William walking towards the bathrooms and decide to follow him. This is the point in the game where we get to see Springlock failure, which is just always a good time, I can't lie.
Hide in my suit.
Kids, it's me, Spring Bonnie. It's your best pal.
Oh shit. Oh, he's fucking dead. Oh damn. After watching the gruesome death, the brothers kick rocks and go back home. And after that, we get the abandoned ending. Oh no. Endings. Let's go! After the credits roll, we're put into the point of view of William inside the Springtrap suit 30 years later. We're given the option to either end the pain or to wait out our time. Choosing End the Pain leads to a monologue from William longer than the Henry monologue we had earlier, which I was dead ass falling asleep during. You can see that in my full playthrough over on my second channel, Dexter Black. 3 shills in one video? God damn, I'm a menace. Choosing this path leads to Springtrap burning down the establishment and ending his life, giving us the We All Burn ending. If we instead choose to wait our time, we get a teaser for the next game in the series, Mario and Animatronic Horror Fazbear Fright Arc, which, spoiler alert, was never released. And with that, that's all Mario and Animatronic Horror has to offer. There is actually a second game called Mario and Animatronic Horror The Nightmare Begins, which is a direct sequel to this game, but it's only a demo that will almost certainly never be finished after the DMCA takedown request. So I won't be talking about it in this video, but you can watch my full playthrough of the demo on my second channel, Dexter Black. That's 4 self-plugs in one video. What are you gonna do about it, stinker? But with that being said, I really enjoyed my time playing this game. It's definitely a bad game, but I think it has enough charm to make up for that. There's plenty of unintentionally funny moments in this game that make it hard to be forgotten, and I think people will continue to reminisce about this game for years to come. There's actually a remake of this game being developed, although I'm not sure if progress is still being made on it, but I'll be sure to keep you all posted. In my Dormitibus video, I asked you guys what canceled FNAF fan game you'd like to see completed. My favorite answer was this one by Decimal Heckery, who chose Afton Build, and I couldn't agree more. The demo for this game was incredible, and I really think it could have gone somewhere great, even if it didn't get funded by the Fanverse initiative. The question of this video is, what's your favorite non-typically formulaic FNAF game and why? With the question of the video being asked, I've been Dexter, and I'll see you all in the next video. See ya!